Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Midwest R6, our second matchup of the night. I'm Keegan Fisher here, joined by Jenna. We got Division 3 and 4 Marquette taking on Iowa, but before we get into the game, just gotta know, how excited are you? Playoff Midwest R6 is back.
I am so excited. I've played against Marquette as IIT before, so from a while back I knew how they played, but I'm not so updated on their roster in the moment. But I've heard a little bit about Iowa. I haven't casted Iowa. This is my first time casting Midwest, so it's pretty much a clean slate for me.
Don't worry, I'm one of the newer ones here too, so we're both going to be in similar shoes here. Obviously, since the first game ran extremely long, we're going to keep the pregame here pretty brief. We do have both of the team rosters to go through. I believe Marquette is up first, so we can kind of familiar ourselves with these five. It's going to be Imp, Lee 45, Toucan, Hattie, and Akek. Some real crowd favorites here in this roster.
Absolutely. I definitely remember Toucan from a while ago on Marquette, so they must have been playing for the roster for quite some time. I would say since 2022, 2023, around that time. Um, but on the other side, we've got Iowa's roster. I'm really excited to look at them. We've got Watt, Pilot, Little Uzi Vert, Ghoul, and Duke. Now, again, I haven't casted either of these teams yet before, so I don't really know too much about the players. Can't really comment on that, but I am excited to see, who the player to watch is, what that's going to look like. But we're going to get into map bands. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, Matt Ben's coming up here. Obviously, it was Marquette with the first pick, so they did opt to go towards Bank. Consulate is going to be the second map for Iowa in a decider of Clubhouse. So for anybody that stuck around for that first match, some of these maps certainly going to be a little bit familiar with those last two. Last one, if we get there. But starting off on Bank is going to be really interesting. Bank always, I think teams are either really good at it or really bad at it. And obviously, you're hoping, since it wasn't banned out by Iowa, this is going to be a map they're competitive on. I believe we do have the player to watch on standby as well, so we'll just see who we're going to be keeping an eye out from our point of view, at least. From up here on the booth, and it's Leaf on Marquette, and truly insane KD for this map, and looking at the survival rate as well. I mean, I'm expecting big things.
I mean, yeah, kills per round, almost 2 kills per round on average. That's pretty insane. I mean, to be fair, it's not entirely out of, stat range for a team that does sit at the top of their division. Marquette sitting at the top of the D3 division, and I can assume the stats would be similar for Iowa's player to watch if they're going to be sitting at the top of the D4 division. So I mean, these two teams duking it out, it's going to be a really interesting match because they're both undefeated. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, like you said, undefeated, top of D3 and D4 respectively. And funnily enough, Iowa comes into this one kind of the underdogs because they're from D4. But if anybody was paying attention to the stats up on the roster screen, actually have a higher average overall rating. So this one's definitely not an underdog story. These are two extremely competitive teams. We're going to hope to do good. Map number one starts right now in Iowa, starting out with the Blackbeard band. Nothing too far out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I can expect a Blackbeard, a Zombie, Mira. We might even be seeing something wild like a Blitz band, Shield band, like Blitz or Monty. That's definitely not out of the range, especially for a map like Bank that can very heavily rely with those long hallways, spots and nooks and crannies for a shield to walk into. But no, it's gonna be Habana, which isn't too out of the wheelhouse either for a map like Bank, especially when you're sitting on those windows and you want to open up that elevator hall. So yeah, I mean that's gonna be one hard breacher taken out of the rotation for the attack. So very well might have to get creative in terms of opening up that walls and hard breach ability. Kaid, it's gonna be our third operator going off of the board. Not too surprising as well with there's a lot of hatch play on Bank.
Yeah, there really is, and I think by that way, Hibana a good ban as well. I love the Goyo ban. This isn't always a ban you see, but Goyo on this map, I think specifically on the basement, such a strong tool for the defenders. I'm a little surprised by Marquette's ban, like taking out Hibana to keep the hatches closed, and then taking out the Kaid to get the hatches open. It's confusing me a little bit, but that's why I'm up here not playing in this game. In round number one, they're going to go upstairs, not downstairs. And the Echo pick off the bat, I love it. I'm a big Echo fan. I really want to see Pilot be able to utilize this effectively.
Yeah, that is kind of a funny comment on taking out the Habana and the Kaid all in the same breath. It's a little chaotic But I like it. And I think honestly each of those operators have very like distinct uses of their utility, you know. They're very at range operators, if you think about it that way, right? With Kaid, you can throw the Electro Claw and Habana with those pellets, you can definitely hit it from afar. So to think about that, when it comes to hard breaching and wall denial, now you're gonna have to be up close and personal, right?
Yeah, obviously it gets a lot more risky, and especially having that bandit too, definitely kind of doesn't help that. If you have to be that close to the bandit, can certainly kind of go for that refrag, get aggressive on those walls. If they're not able to pick it up with the trick, the way they're placing these batteries though, I don't think they're going to be actively holding any of these walls. We'll see what Ghoul does. It gets so difficult to hold them once those castle barricades on the windows start falling, and with the picks like the Ace with the Zofia, they can take those castle barricades out really, really easy if they need to. Pilot calling you a shot here. We'll see if the quad kill happens for the Echo.
Marquette, though, they're going to have to be very succinct with their utility as it relates to playing from afar, especially with that kind of boa constrictor sort of play that you usually see from afar with these windows. And now that the Habana is taken off the board, now that the Blackbeard is taken off the board, that's a little bit less, I guess, range that you can play from, a little bit less protection that you can walk into this situation with. So you're either going to have to play it up close and personal, or you're going to have to be very smart with your utility, which Marquette, they're opting for a Monty, so looks like they're playing for a more direct approach.
And I really like the combo they got going here, the Monty and the Ryora. Two operators that kind of really excel at kind of, blocking off defenders from certain spaces, taking space back for the attack. So the defender's going to have to be very, very careful how they move through this. The Monty is just going to shoot the Echo. The quad kill does not come to fruition in round one, and they keep on coming. To Keck with the second kill from the window, and just like that, I am down a 3v5 halfway into this round.
Absolutely huge for Marquette. I mean, how did the Echo not see that coming? Hello! And the defender walking right out the window. Iowa, they're desperate for a grasp in this round. I mean, you've got 4 attackers looking right at you, and it's going to get really heated and chaotic. Ghoul's going to go down, unfortunately, to the gun of an unfortunate attacker from here. Mark, though, they're going to have the bomb planted now. And now it's all up to the defense to retake.
Have one C4 from underneath. It's not going to get defender, but it will get the Ryora barricade out of the way. Luftflieger making the way into sight, but with Leaf just standing there behind that shield, not much the defense can do. They saw Smelly on the jump out, so they know this mute is coming from downstairs. Just over 10 seconds left to get on this bomb, and without making a single kill so far, it's going to be very, very difficult to do for Iowa. We're going to get one of Smelly picks up and traded out immediately by Toucan. Luftflieger is not going to be able to get on it, and Hattie gets the kill, so first round to the attacker. A welcome surprise for Ben.
I think you could definitely tell that Iowa wasn't quite expecting the direct take from Marquette. You could tell Iowa was like, okay, they're going to play it back. They're going to do this whole like step-by-step scenario. They're going to play for windows. They definitely had a different picture of how the round was going to occur. But when you hit with that immediate direct pressure, I mean, that forgoes all utility usage, right? You can just play right up in their faces. You can get the kills, get the early advantage, get that execute rolling, and honestly, you don't have too much to worry about at that point. They just kind of rolled over Iowa, and it was a great round for Marquette overall.
It really was. We'll see if they can build on that success here in round number 2, going downstairs. And I have to mention the now, because I'm sure I'm going to later as well. The Tukshanka pick, I absolutely love it. Such a fun operator, and it's so hard now, especially in these high competitive lobbies, to make this operator a really good choice. But with Goyo banned out, I like the pivot. The LMG as well, so nice for that site destruction. We'll see if they can use it more effectively. And the X Factor has to be Pilot staying alive longer. Died, I think, first last round, so cannot happen again. Those Yokai drones, so powerful in those late rounds, and we see a very, very different attacker.
We do. You could tell, Mark, I mean, they're really gunning for that direct take, especially with the blitz in hand. Question is this going to be more of a rush strategy, perhaps coming from vault side, or is this going to be more of a metered, okay, we're going to take more map control, we're going to play this slowly, try to be thorough with it, but I mean, that blitz just doesn't quite signal that for me. It signals very fast area control. We're looking to play for the quick roam clear and then maybe go right in. But I suppose only the round will tell, right?
Certainly will. They only have one player off the site right now, or rather a second. Smelly in this main hallway can drop down this hatch at any time. Just going to be waiting to see how that castle barricade holds up, and with Watt in open area as well. Interested to see how long it is before some real pressure starts falling onto these members. A nice vertical angle from one player, unfortunately. Finds nothing. Now Leaf going to be the one droning in. Don't always see that from the shield up, but I love seeing the team.
I love it. I think it's beautiful. I think it's smart. I think it's beautiful.
You know, we really need more shields on grounds these days. Ooh,
Exactly.
This is going to be an interesting matchup. C4 bounce back at the mute, but kills the blitz and not the mute. One of the most interesting interactions you're ever going to see, as somehow Smelly survives and miraculously Leaf is going to be picked up.
No way. I've never seen a C4 bouncing off of a shield like that before. That is absurd. It's an unfortunate use of utility, though. I do have to say, just wasn't able to angle that C4 quite in the way that Mute had hoped. But hey, at least you walk out of it with your life. But at the same time now, Marquette, with 1 minute remaining on the clock, they have control of that E1 area, and that is not a spot that you want as Iowa, especially when Marquette still has that blitz up, right? It really leans in the way of, okay, now we have map control, now we can make this execute easy with a lot of time on our hands. We have a lot of time to play with, we can really get into position, and we can take this round for ourselves.
Iowa still with a little bit of time to stall out. When Yoka falls down, though, to a combination of the Twitch drone and the self-charge. Pilot moved into the second, and now Tachanka is still yet to shoot any Shamika canisters. Finally going to start firing them on. They only last for a couple seconds. They should be enough to stall out. Plant Chukan rapidly losing health, but gets onto the A chassis. Plant's coming down, Blitz in the door, which should stop most aggression here. And indeed, Marquette's going to be the one to back out first. Smelly follows Diffuser on the ground. 5v4 favoring Marquette, and the defenders are dropping like flies in. With a double for the Damos, Pilot answers on to one. Pilot goes down. Ooh, the last members standing against three, and yet again, Marquette have got the diffuser down and just turned on the gas. Iowa need to do something miraculous here to hold out, but with one player above, a shield in the way, it's about all over here. Cool, not much he can do.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I think... No, is it gonna be a kill? Oh, it won't be a kill on that. It won't be a kill on the shield. But as I was saying, before I was, rudely interrupted by that shield play with the Tachanka, I think Iowa really needs to hone in on the early round aggression to get the edge on this round. I mean, you give Marquette an inch, they're going to take a mile, because the way that they're playing against Iowa, they're going direct, they're going bold, they're trying to take immediate ground. And if you give Marquette immediate ground, they're going to position that utility, going to position that that intel, and they're going to have a much easier time doing it with more time on their hands, right? So if I was Iowa, I would say, okay, let's switch it up a little bit, right? Not only should we go for a little bit of area denial, I like that castle, but also we should go for a little bit of early round presence, right? Maybe on the third floor, maybe get a roam going, maybe have that Oryx, the Legion, something to scare Marquette a little bit, make them have to rethink, make them have to take a step back, evaluate, and say, hey, we need to play in from this angle, we need to have this opening, instead of them forcing an opening early round and being able to work off of that. I believe it is. I believe they opted to go downstairs again. They did. Yep. All good, my friend. It's kind of weird. We're on a very weird sort of we can't see it from afar. We're watching what everybody else is watching. We don't get multiple angles, so unless we're looking at the highlights through the ground, it's kind of tough to know where we're at. And the HUD, the HUD is a little bit weird since it's been updated. But anyways, we got a little bit of presence on the main floor site here. I mean, same thing happening with the Blitz. They're creating pressure. They're causing a sort of chaotic imbalance for Iowa. I mean, Iowa's having to press back immediately, especially with those first kills off the board, right? Watt and Smelly going down. That's a little bit more collateral for Iowa than originally in that first round that they went downstairs. However, though, Imp is going to be off the board too. That's your Zofia. But, of course, not particularly the most important operator to have off the board. It's definitely somebody that's good for the execute, but I mean, considering the other operators off the board, I would say Marquette, they're not taking a huge loss.
Iowa to take it down close. Man, Hattie is still trapped. Hattie just runs into the fire and dies. Mistimed it, unfortunately for them, and Iowa now has a chance. One player above, one in the server, and it's going to have to be Iowa to find this kill onto a keg. See if they're able to do it, but no, looks the wrong way, and now it's just Ghoul with one above. Yet again, Iowa faltering at the finish line.
So unfortunate. To have Ghoul be the last remaining player up again, to have the Tachanka be the last remaining player up again, it's but again, it's truly the same thing with Iowa that we had just been talking about. They're not able to set the pace. They're not able to have that early round aggression, and they're not holding ground, right? Marquette is just easily taking ground, and they're honestly letting Marquette do it, right? They're not putting up too much of a resistance, especially against that shield, right? I think this is a big issue that a lot of teams happen to have where, you know, they don't really play for shields, especially on a map like Bank, and they don't really know how to play against shields. So it's like, do I commit to playing for the Blitz? Do I pull back? You know, do I let them take that ground early, save my life, and try to play it off in the last remaining seconds of the round? Or do I try to aggress on the Blitz and perhaps get traded out? You know, it's a really tough decision to make, especially in the moment. But I think you have to really have precise utility use. You have to really have a lot of support there with the trade. And perhaps you go for the early round aggression, right? You have somebody up on the third floor, like we've been saying.
Attackers need to locate
What
and
the
defuse
strategy
the bomb.
is, and I like Iowa using the time here. There's no using defending around Bank is not a good start. I gotta say, I'm a little confused to see them going back to the basement here. I think the one thing they have been doing well is, I mean, time-wise, they're doing everything right. Marquette's just still getting the plant down, and I think some of that comes to just losing these opening fights, right? I don't think they found the opener once, if memory is serving correctly, so being able to switch that, hopefully, would turn their fortunes around. We'll see if they have a different room, because honestly, they've done the last 2 rounds, they did the same thing twice, and it is just not working. And it looks like they're doing the same again.
5 seconds to insert.
I think if they get the first pick, it's going to slow down Marquette a lot.
Locate and defuse a bomb.
I think I really like to think that first picks, especially against a really aggressive team, mean a lot. It kind of slows them down. It kind of affects their mental. It forces them to reevaluate, perhaps pivot on their direct take. And especially if you're able to deal with that blitz early round, I mean, you essentially have the round in the bag. And we were talking about the player to watch Leaf. That would be your shield player blitz. crazy.
Yeah, it was interesting that they threw him up as the ace in the pregame, but it has been all shields. Now they're going double shield too. I like the Warden change, and they're just hot dropping the hatch. How about this for a post-timeout round? See what happens here. Karen the diffuser already low, but Watt falls to Hattie, and just like that, there are 2 shields in the bomb site and a couple more. He falls in garage from Duel. Nice shot from Shanka. Keck is in on the site, and that's going to be Toucan, rather, taking out Ghoul. And just like that, diffuser's going down. Iowa is yet again in a post-plant situation. Imp and Toucan take another, and it's all on Pilot. It's post-plant, 40 seconds. The Blitz won't even have to do anything, just punches him out of the way, and 4 rounds unanswered here from Marquette.
My question is, why was the Warden the last person to get on site there? Was the Warden playing in blue and didn't play up fast enough once the rush happened? I mean, if the Warden had dealt with that blitz, of course, we know Iowa was not expecting that rush, right? But let's say in an ideal world, okay, they expected the rush. Warden was able to play for that blitz on the back in Vault. This could have been a very different round, right? It's all about player placement. It's all about mobility, especially against a direct team like this who knows how to play for that rush. You know this is their map pick, right? And Marquette is dominating right now. So they know, okay, all right, screw it. Let's go for the rush, right? Let's see if it works, see if it sticks. Maybe we'll get a better round differential, maybe not, but we have multiple rounds to play with. This would be the perfect time to rush. Iowa wasn't expecting it at all. That's what you really have to plan for. It's all about that decision making for them.
Yeah, and right now, the decision-making on Marquette is quite simply top tier. It seems like they can't go wrong here. And a lot for Iowa, it just looks like a slow start. There aren't any, massive, glaring mistakes that I can pinpoint in any of these defensive rounds other than they simply just don't look ready for what Marquette's throwing at them. Hopefully that's going to change soon here, because on Bank, you need to put at least a couple defensive rounds up, maybe their own shield operator. Do it here, Pilot on the Clash to try and stop Leaf on the Monty. Notably, I think Iowa's defense of this site the first time around really wasn't bad. They were just focused on the wrong area, and with this same lineup, I'd imagine Marquette go through the lobby again. I will have to be better prepared for it this time out.
Clash. Clash is up on the board. I love a good Clash pick. Saying it before, I love a good Clash pick. I truly cannot think of somebody better to deal with than Monty than Clash. So I'm glad they had that little adaptation for themselves. Iowa's just gonna have to go back to the drawing board. That's really the main thing for them here. They're gonna have to use operators to their advantage. They're gonna have to use area denial to their advantage as much as humanly possible. And this operator is going to facilitate that the best, right? Marquette, though, they're going to have to play Boa Constrictor if they want to deal with that Clash, and it is such a pincushion of a site to be playing when up on CEO. So Iowa really just have to watch out in those specific spots, saying, okay, we can't go here, we can't go here. However, Zoph down by the run-out with Maestro, absolutely huge for Iowa Esports. Now they've gotten the first pick on the board for themselves. They're forcing Marquette to pivot. You can definitely see it right now. They're going to have that decision-making top tier continue it at the very least to scrap this round, right?
Yeah, second time now. Smelly's got that jump out. Last time was on the mute, this time on the Meister, though. Marquette just weren't ready for it, and another one's going to fall. Watt is able to take down Toucan. Watt with the double. UMP laying through there inside of the large office. Might get Smelly down below, but instead it's going to be the Alda winning out. It's all on Leaf in a flawless round. Right when Iowa needed it the most, that is the kind of point-setting round you want. Going into this 6 and going to be a very, very important defensive round.
Huge. Absolutely huge for Iowa. I love the adaptation. I love the Clash up on the board for them. That is a huge game changer. It forces Marquette to stall, and when Marquette is stalled, as with plenty of direct teams, especially in the T3, the T4 scene, they don't have that mid-round efficiency, right? They don't have that ability to pivot and say, okay, we've been stopped here, now what, right? After that first roadblock, we have to either pivot, we have to go somewhere else, perhaps top square, play on those windows, or we have to push through. Okay, it seems like they tried to push through a little bit, but they got systematically pulled apart by Iowa. And that's something that you love to see. It's that flash of brilliance from them and how small changes can truly affect the round.
10 seconds.
Going in now, round number 6. Iowa trying to push us to a 2-4. Marquette in what has been
5 seconds.
a very impressive opening half, looking to keep it going. This time they're going to be the mid-floor, not downstairs, so I do get to see the mid-floor before we swap sides. We'll see just how much they roam this one. The roam game hasn't been extremely heavy from Iowa. Really nothing quite out of the ordinary. Smelly there looking for a spawn peek, not going to find it. A lone player there from Marquette, well behind cover. Should be no danger from the cap cam. And it looks like only one player upstairs. I'd love to get your opinion, because I think personally, on the mid-floor sites, you need a really strong upstairs presence. I don't know if one player with a couple cap cam traps is going to be able to really defend it well enough.
I totally agree with you. I mean, you look at Mark's lineup, you've got a blitz, or not blitz, oh my gosh, you've got a Buck on the board, right? You've also got a Zoph on the board. You've also got the Flores, you got the Twitch. I mean, it is utility breaking, it is great for Vert. It's something that's going to... Yeah, oh my gosh. It's something that's going to pull apart Iowa's entire defense, right? And I mean, it doesn't seem like Iowa is making any changes for that.
They really don't, and as noted a second ago, Smelly's third time jumping out the same window, still getting results.
2 for 3. I think we're 2 for 3 on that.
3 for 3. 3 for 3.
Three for
He got
three.
it as, yeah, Mew Maestro, and now his captain. And he hasn't been punished all 3 times. He is back inside the building and about to come flank this offense. We'll see if the Capcan has too much of an impact on the rest of the round. But with that lone player upstairs jumping out, they now have full top floor control. I mean, Iowa's out of the top floor. They can maybe try to sneak back up with the Clash. It looks like they might try to do that. Pilot's still on the stairs. But a minute 20 is a long time to be dodging these vertical runs.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not so far apart from the rest of your teammates, right? It's that kind of direction of the mid-round efficiency that really gets you. But Leaf walking right in and trying to plan. Hello, with 5 players up on the board before you close to follow. You got 2 players off for Iowa already. And it's going to be the last player for Marquette after that huge engagement to ensue. I mean, wow.
It's not out of the woods yet. You need Pilot to play really careful. You can essentially just shock this Twitch down over time. Lil Fuzivert never even needs to peek. And with the diffuser down in sight, all you need to do is watch his hatch drop. That's exactly what they're doing. The Twitch does have 1 drone remaining, so can get intel if they need it. Smoke grenade momentarily obscures him, but Lil Fuzivert with the triple on the round to end things out right for Iowa. And a very strong 2 rounds at the tail end, too. That's going to do a lot, mental-wise, momentum-wise, because those were 2 very, very good defensive rounds.
No, it was the bad smoke. Did you see that? That could have been that could have been a good plan strat. At least try to obscure that cubicle area, right? But damn, man, that was still a great try from Twitch. But
Attackers need to locate
that smoke placement was really unfortunate. Iowa though, they got up 2 rounds at the very least, and now we're sitting at 4-2. But now Marquette is on their defenses, and like you said, right, Bank is a defender-sided map, so you would normally expect Iowa to be up 4 rounds, and now Marquette is up 4 rounds. So the question remains: can Iowa pull something out, maybe an ace up their sleeve to find themselves ahead in their attacking rounds, or is Marquette going to have a really dominant play style, you know, setting the pace like they have been doing in their attacking rounds, do the same thing on their defense, especially because this is their map pick?
Yeah, obviously on the team's map pick, I mean, I think like inherently, when you go into a team's map pick, you maybe give them an extra edge away from just like being the defense here. The Amaru's a choice. I mean, they're downstairs. There's not, I guess there are a few of them in the first floor. There's really not a huge extent of their own game. Lil Fuzivert just wants to get in here quickly, and with the G8 as, nope, has a supernova, never mind on that point. Gonna be interesting to see what they can kind of pull off here. Already on the hatch upstairs, and could get Hattie here, who's just reinforcing the wall, and they do a massive mistake from Marquette there. And an equally big one from Iowa as Smelly, without droning, drops down the hatch. So already a 1-for-1 trade. We're at 4v4.
I mean, Marquette, come on, guys. You can't be reinforcing that wall that late in the round. Damn. So unfortunate for that player. But Iowa, they're not going to come out on top. Unfortunately, it is a 4-4 in player count. But I mean, you've got Velk off the board. It's very unfortunate. And you don't have any more C4s for Marquette. Although on Iowa, you don't also have any shield players. But as it relates to this execute, I mean, if Iowa floods the site, essentially Marquette doesn't have any sort of way to kill an operator from afar with that C4, right? I mean, that's not great utility, but you do have the Chink on the board, you do have the smoke on the board regardless, so it still is some form of area denial that Marquette does have. But it's interesting that they don't have any C4s on the board.
All the C4s off and the smoke grenades down as well, Leaf using them to just extend their time healing servers. So Imp is going to have to be that X-Factor player this round for Marquette. Speaking about Leaf, nearly forced out of the corner, but the grenade doesn't make it quite all the way. Will be blinded though in the meantime. Ghoul can't find the angle. Smoke is still just alive behind the servers. Maybe taken down soon. Watt's looking for the kill. Watt has the damage. Can't find the finishing blows though. He finally falls. And 2 kills running through for Iowa. One of their teammates on the floor, so essentially a 3v2. Fuzifer might get one with the shotgun, but the crossfire from Imp. What an angle behind the chassis there from the Tachanka. And just like that, Marquette potentially saving themselves around fusing play. Pilot has it in their corner. This Tachanka having a rough time with the angle. Should be reloaded in time to deal with Pilot and the plant. Keck now inside a garage looking for the angles, but here comes Watt from behind. The question is, does Marquette have that default cam up? Do they know that Damos is behind? I don't think they do. Damos working their way through, sees a barrel, the Tachanka, gonna hit the Tachanka, Imp goes down. It's now only a Keck in the garage. Flash out for now, Pilot putting the diffuser on the ground, and Watt get all the intel. So now Marquette sees how it is from the other side, as we're in a post plant for Iowa, and a kill for Iowa. Watt with another.
I mean, the Demo's huge. Absolutely grand for Iowa to pull that out. Just crazy. It's from vault side, I mean, elevator side, that was a really great decision making from Iowa. Whoever that IGL is, whoever put that Deimos in that spot, props to you. Because that was really great, playing that Deimos from behind. Because Marquette, they were none the wiser, right? Not only is the default cam not up, but they didn't seem to have a Velt cam sat there either, right? Which is kind of interesting, considering that you very well might expect a rush from Iowa backside. But regardless, great round from Iowa. I love that they set the pace immediately. I love that they played aggressive right into the building. I do like that Amaru pick. I actually did really like that. I know, like, you know, it's not the best shotgun in the world, but I do like it because, I mean, grants you early access, and you could play up very close, especially to those roamers. I mean, it really allows you a lot of flexibility with SMG as well. And, I mean, if you're getting yourself that opening, then that's great, right? You can finally set the pace that you've been so desperately trying to do on your defense rounds. And it feels like both of these teams, they have a really hard time dealing with high levels of aggression from the opposition on their defense rounds. Which is so interesting, because you come into this Marquette super aggressive, and then Iowa super aggressive, and neither team knows what to do. They're kind of unanswered, in a sense.
Yeah, and I wonder if some of that could stem from the map pick as well, because at least in my experience, Fake is normally a fairly slow map. Impact Grenade takes out the shield right behind the head there. Lil Fuzivert gonna fall on, I believe, the repel from a Keck. But yeah, some of this aggression coming out from the offense is just something you don't typically see on this map, especially at some of the more competitive levels. So we'll see which team is better equipped to deal with it, because right now Iowa getting a tough time on the offense. There's still a player inside of stocks that I don't know if they know about. It's going to be Imp there, hiding under the desk. They're so focused on Hattie here, playing this deployable shield. Might just not see this one lie. Yeah, I don't think Watt has any idea. That could be a big late round swing onto those windows. Watt making their way in. Pilot still waiting on the hard breach here. The main hard breach and one player on the windows. Gonna have to do a lot of work to keep the team safe.
fun little statistic for you. We have a 100% first pick to round conversion rate. I find that interesting.
Do we really?
It's on bank, yeah, we do. It's on bank, which you said is usually a slow map, but because these attackers are playing so aggressive, I think that really does play into how well that first pick really can set the tone for the round. Huge though, coming out of the defender. Pilot's gonna be down all the way far from behind the shield. Just couldn't quite get that head there.
Attackers have recovered.
See if that first pick round continues, and it looks like they're trying to will for now, as that's 3 unanswered here for Marquette before finally being spoken for. Watt taking one down. Hattie will fall. Watt's gonna fall as well. There it is, the rotation we were waiting for again. On the window, unseen, but now refragged. Ghoul gonna avenge a teammate. Now left in a 1v3. 40 seconds left to go. Some things working in the advantage, though. Does have the hard breach open, so has a good avenue into sight to plant this diffuser if they can get some picks. But with Toucan at the front desk and Leaf in the janitor closet, they're holding a nasty cross angle onto the snowmat. The air jab should dispel any flanks, but you just got to worry about in sight. 3 guns looking your way, and Ghoul having to look every which direction. Not an enviable position. Gonna have to push into janitor first, it looks like. Leaf sitting on the door should be able to pick up this kill. Ghoul less than 30 HP, ranging in. Still trying to find one. 3 seconds to go. No seconds to go. A Keck with the final kill on Marquette puts her first defensive round on the board. Stops a nice 3-round run there from Iowa.
Indeed. I think that the reason why this can truly be such a difficult round to win, especially from backside CEO, is that it is so difficult to get any sort of footing at all in the building, right? And it really just becomes a game of, okay, am I going to sit outside and try to bait the kill, or am I going to walk in and get absolutely obliterated from 5 different angles looking at me, whether that be janitor hall, whether that be from, 50 feet away sitting in Trump, like, it's really such a gambit when you're walking in on backside there. Like, it is so difficult to attack, and especially with the OSA, I mean, that impact, it was really unfortunate utility usage for Iowa, and they just weren't really able to hit the mark when it came to that mid-round efficiency. They didn't really quite pivot, and I think they tried to brute force it a little bit, but it really was awkward because they were just playing from afar, and they ended up having too much early round aggression that they really could not respond to whatsoever. So at the end of the day, Iowa, very unfortunate, but you really do got to change up your tactics once you get that first kill on the board for your team, because otherwise you're just going to be sitting around and really waiting to die.
We're going to see some very aggressive tactics here from the offense. They have another Amaru. They're rolling with an Ashe, Deimos, Ying as well.
Love that Amaru.
So definitely expecting yeah, gonna be some high level of aggression for sure. And from the defense, they actually do have a much stronger hold, at least it looks like from our point of view, on this middle floor with 3 players on that first floor. I think a Cat kind of rotating around the staircase. Now they're going to be ready for it. They're not going to be reinforcing the wall, or at least getting the match first to protect them for the time being. So Lil Fuzi not going to have that easy first blood. Toucan sitting downstairs. And yeah, honestly, at this point, I'm just waiting for the first blood. I'm going to give up casting the round after that. We already know who wins. We'll see if it wins.
100%. 100%. That's really the name of the game in this meta, is you look at first pick, and then you kind of decide based off of how the team's performing afterwards, if they're looking to pivot, if they're looking to still get a foot in this round. If not, they've kind of conceded in a way. If they kind of feel defeated after that, then it's like, okay, well, the round is lost at that point, which is, it's so unfortunate that your mental can flip just like that because we're in such an aggressive meta, but it's true.
Looks like, yet again, Marquette have kind of forfeited this top floor control fairly early on. The Ashe doesn't see the bulletproof cam. Could be a big swing. Unable to hit the shot, so Leaf just can't quite get him to go. Gonna pop the first smoke grenade there that was destroyed at some point. With Monty close by, the rest of the team here, Leaf is gonna have to fall off this angle very quickly. Using these smoke grenades early, yet again, they're gonna be relying on that Tachanka, and they have no C4 on the board this time. They didn't bring a valve. It's gonna be a really big swing from the smoke. They're just gonna use the last canister there as some more cover. We'll see what happens. From our point of view, can't see anything Wonder what Leaf is saying.
Very well, might have another engagement here. It won't be. Leaf's just gonna walk right back down. But very well might look to play for the Ash, and Smelly to get the revenge on Leaf in a very, very quick call. We're gonna have a down but not out Watt, who is playing ahead. Security looks like the rolling execute is going to happen in the next few seconds here. We've got the Yings going in, we've got the smokes going in, we've got players from above, and now we're seeing the Monty plant. Only 3 players left on the board for Marquette, and just like that, Akek's gonna go off the board, but a player right behind Hattie. You could tell Iowa was not ready for that when it goes down to the aggression from Hattie, and now Aisha's gonna have to play above, try to get the edge on the rest of Iowa, maybe play through that backside indeed, but will not catch anybody from that. And if in the last few seconds it goes down, there you have it. I mean, what a great attack from Iowa.
Yeah, another big Iowa round there. Able to pick that one up fairly effectively. Lofuzi, especially on that vertical play, able to hold out for one of those defenders. They completely missed Ghoul inside of the closet there, so weren't able to get down that Ying, who would have had some great post-plant coverage. And we got exactly what we wanted coming in. It wasn't necessarily on the sides. I kind of thought it would be. This is an extremely kind of even, aggressive matchup. It's what you love to see from these teams, especially in playoff time. Marquette now going to go to this middle floor, try to put themselves on to round point, which after watching the first 4 rounds, I would have thought it'd be a 7-0, but Iowa has put up a really nice last 5.
A little bit of a quick sidebar here. Red Tail A upset SLU 2-0. We also have GVSU, Grand Valley. They won against UND Black 2-1. I suppose those are our 2 upsets of the night.
5 seconds remaining.
I don't know anything about it.
I mean, UND Black definitely one of the stronger teams in the brackets. The number 2 seed falling down to the number 10. Definitely don't expect that one every night. The other one was much closer, 6 matching up against a 3, so maybe less of an upset. But there's also upset potential here. Of course, Iowa at that 8 seed, taking down the 1 here. First blood rolls through. Are we going to see it for 10 rounds in a row? Leaf, the first one to fall. Wait, I completely missed. Who died first last round? Did the trend continue?
I think it did. Yeah, I think Marquette died first the last round. I mean, don't quote me on that, but it was so fast, you know. It's like it's funny. There's 3 like 2 to 3 main engagements in a round, right?
They did. They got the smoke. Sorry.
Oh, they did.
Just
okay.
remembering. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. There's usually like 2 to 3 main engagements in a round, and it's like if you don't catch the first one, then you don't know first.
What a shot!
Crazy. Another great shot. I mean, tearing apart Marquette's defense on that top floor. You only have 2 remaining players left on the board. Iowa, they're so synergized right now. Their chemistry that they have is really off the charts.
Let's see if Marquette has what it takes here to go on to round point, but it's looking more and more like we're going to get even up 5-5. This time Smelly, the one that dies on the windows, not the one jumping out this time around. The butt goes down, but Watt on this Ash is just wreaking havoc. Cool with 1. Should be taken down from behind, but UMP can't get the shots. 2 can now. Will fall once again to Watt with the triple on the round. The trend continues. 10 straight victories for the opening pick. If I'm these players, I'm just going to start spawn peeking, you know? Like, roll the dice in your favor. We'll see what happens. And for the first time this game, Iowa not losing. They find a way to even it back up on 5 apiece on the attack. All kinds of up and downs already through this map 1.
Yeah, for the first time, they're not losing. They're actually up. Which, I mean, you have to really hand it to Iowa, especially on their attacking rounds. They really flipped the dynamics of Bank on its head at this point. And I feel like you see that a lot in this meta. I've mentioned this quite a few times before, but knowing that we're in a very aggressive, direct meta, and knowing the geography of this map, how big it is, it's really hard as a defender to really defend like top floor on a roam, for example, when you have a dog pile of 3 people right at your doorstep playing for you in the first 30 seconds of the round. I mean, this is essentially a mirror of what Marquette was doing, what I was doing right now. And neither team has a great response for it. And it really not only comes down to Bank and Bank's geography, but also from the utility usage from Marquette and Iowa. They don't really have that quite down with the C4s, with the smokes. It really seems like they have something set up for a slightly different meta, slightly different strategy, and it's not quite working on such a aggressive take that just shuts down utility.
Yeah, the guns have really been, I think, the crutches for honestly both these teams so far. They're getting it done with gun skill, not insane technical play. Not to say it's bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it has been the bullets opening up these rounds. While on the Nook is going to be a really interesting pick to watch for this one. The top fragger here across the entire lobby, and now going to be pulling some sneaky plays. We'll see what it is in the basement right now, so just waiting to see which staircase Nook ends up rolling up. Ghouls downstairs, they're not taking a Ryora this time, though, from the attacks, so the defenders can find a way to flank them. I'm going to go ahead and open the elevator for the player playing there. It is going to be Toucan, who can now just move back out. I don't think they have any players out on the windows.
No, they don't. I really do think that both of these teams, they're choosing to... Oh,
there's one.
Well, there's one. But yeah, both of these teams are really choosing that direct take because they know it works, right? If it ain't broke, we'll fix it. And clearly, both of these defenses don't quite know how to deal with that. But Luffy Vert is going to pick up the first of the round. That's your Oryx off the board. A flurry of kills to follow. You've got Snuff and Watt going off, Apex as well, and Toucan to finish up the kill feed in those last few seconds. Imp and Hattie are the last remaining players from the defense, and they're really just having to keep all eyes on every angle, but you can't do that if you're just one person. Imp going down to the player on the windows. That's your Zoe. And Hattie is the last remaining player to defend this bomb site. Doesn't quite see that Monty planting in the corner, but does at the very last second, although shut down right afterwards in a wonderful trade. Gun, skill, and effort for both teams.
And now for the first time, Iowa is on top. Match point for them as Marquette is going to be forced to take that last time out. Nice triple from Hattie on the defense. Unfortunately, would have needed that ace to finish things off and push Marquette over the edge first. But now the question is that, I want to get your opinion on this because honestly, it just seems everything that Marquette is doing right now on defense is not working. What's the one thing you have to change? Do you roam more? Do you anchor down? What's kind of the one biggest weak point that's been losing them all these defending rounds?
I think it's the adaptation, right? I've been saying this multiple rounds, that when you are on the defense and you are getting absolutely stomped by that direct take, the only way that you can truly win is A, fighting fire with fire, or B, essentially stonewalling, right? You have to build that wall. You have to really lock yourself in, essentially. And you can't really do that if you've got somebody breaking down that wall. So, Iowa, they're getting to the bread and the butter of breaking down Mark's defense, but Mark has to build it back up. So I say their best shot at winning this is not, forcing, having this kind of turtle defense, right? But rather playing more aggressive, trying to catch Iowa off guard, and making them stop, making them have to reevaluate. Because both of these teams have issues with mid-round efficiency. So if you stop the beginning of the round, stop them from getting that momentum in the first few seconds, then you could find yourself an easy win.
We're already going to see a couple differences. This time on the defense for Marquette. I believe it's their either third or fourth time trying to defend this basement. I think it's a third, but they are not going to go with the castle. Going to play it much looser. And I think in this round, the key to success has to be keeping Leaf alive. Too many times this smoke has not been alive in the last minute of a round. That's where that utility comes out to play. That is where that operator is, quite honestly, the strongest in the game in that situation. Have to see this operator survive and the utility as well. But they're playing on blue again. Really interested to see how they kind of approach this one. They do have a Fenrir, which they haven't had in previous rounds, so can maybe get some more advantageous angles for themselves. But the problems are still there. You're still going to have a Ying. You still have a shield that you just don't have an answer for. And they're going to need to find one within these next 2 minutes if they want to go to overtime.
Pretty much the same lineup for Iowa so far. Got Capital on the board. However, though, we've got the Fenrir. You've got the Two-Bro up on the board, too. So it seems like Marquette, they're trying to stomp out Iowa by playing a little bit more turtley, falling down a little bit more. Which is something that you like to see, but the question is Iowa going to walk right past that, or are they actually going to get stopped? Right? We've got Leaf, though, still sitting on blue stairs, still trying to wait out the aggression from Iowa. But you don't have a blitz up on the board this time around, so they can't be that directly aggressive. At the very least, they can place a Monty, but they're going to have to place a gun right behind it, because that Monty's not going to be able to take on that smoke all by himself.
And yet again, all the smoke canisters are missing. Within the first 2 minutes, we'll see if Leaf can play the life this time. I believe there is one downstairs in server. It's going to be Toucan on the Warden. So has more help than the previous times, but a big hit from the Monty sends a flying Pilot. Only their second kill in all these rounds, but still finding a way to make impacts here for Iowa. Toucan here, I don't know if they've droned it, and they haven't. Smelly goes down. Watt with one flame bolt left remaining will not be able to hit the Warden, but the bullets will, losing health, and Pilot with a double for the Monty. How about that here for Iowa, starting it off strong now with a one-man advantage. 30 seconds left to play, and it's going to be stretched over to 2. Low Fleazyvert takes down Hattie as well. Will this first pick curse continue for the 12th round in a row? C4 out. C4 will not stop the diffuser. It'll kill a teammate and got caught on the wall. Imp falls to a Keck, and just like that, Iowa in a post plant with a Monty Ying Capital. It is all working against a Keck here. Top bracket for Marquette, but in an unwinnable position. Trying to peek out, has 30 seconds, and just like that, Iowa takes map number 1, and Marquette will fall on their own map pick.
I have been casting with another caster recently, and her name is Bianca, and she always says this fun little line: if you are going to pick a map, you better win it. If you are going to bring us on Bank, a map that we don't usually see play on, you better win it, right? And a map that can truly swing either way, especially if you play a specific op, which we saw in a round with the Clash, especially if you bring something like an Amaru that can really shake up the way that the round works, using operator picks to your advantage, using the map geography to your advantage, what have you. You have to play for that, right? You have to be ready for that. Okay, and it didn't seem like Marquette was ready for that. It didn't seem like they had power and adaptation. It didn't seem like they were trying to play creatively, and they did not have consistency, especially with that utility, especially with the level of mechanical play that they were at, too.
And I was kind of surprised just how streaky it all went, right? It was 4 straight unanswered for Marquette. They looked like they were going to 7-0. They looked unstoppable. And then it just comes back, and it is 7 of the next 8 for Iowa. Truly unprecedented comeback, an insanely strong run from them on their side. But now going into Consulate, it's their map pick. I'd argue they have all the momentum in the world. They just come off 4 straight rounds. What's the one thing that they have to keep doing right? We talked a lot about Marquette and kind of how they need to recenter themselves. But what do you think is like Iowa's biggest advantage right now that they have to keep pushing here for map number 2?
Setting the pace. Absolutely. It's going to be setting the pace. Now that we're going on Iowa's map pick, they're probably going to start on attack, which is Consulate, right? It's Consulate. So yeah, they're probably going to start on attack, I would assume. And starting on attack, especially on a map like Consulate, that's similar to Bank in the way that there is 3 floors, of course, and with the way that there is an underground floor too. You got to really hammer down that pace, because you're going to want to take map control, you're going to want to play in very early, and with a huge map like that, it might be better for you to play from afar and play down, or, wherever the site is, what have you, rather than playing in direct. But of course, that is their decision making, that is up to them. But I'm excited. I'm excited for this. I think Iowa, they put up a really great siege so far, and Marquette, it's really on them to adapt and play to Iowa's level.
It really is, and we'll see if they're able to do that. We're going to throw it to a short break and be right back for game number 2 on Consulate between Iowa and Marquette.
I don't want you to know them upcoming new artists. Go to my chat. What do I chat? Them stink like my money. By the way, I don't want you no knife. I only want you the river.
They're gonna be.
Hello and welcome back to Midwest R6 round of 8. We're in the playoffs now. Very excited about this match so far. Very happy with the way that it's going. We've got Iowa that is up one map. We've got Mark that's down. We're going to be heading on to Iowa's map pick, but before that, we're getting into a little bit of some side work with these teams. Very excited about this. You can take it away.
Yeah, so obviously we had a pretty rushed pregame, so we're going to throw you through some more of the statistics to help see from our end just what to expect from these teams. Of course, first off, we got the players over time comparing their stats from last season to this one. And first off, could clearly see this reflected in the gameplay, but Imp from Marquette, from last season to this, their survival rating staying about the same, but the kills jumping up, the ratings jumping up, the KD jumping up. Honestly, to me, it just speaks this is a player that is winning more and more gunfights. The similar survival, I'd expect similar playstyles, but just getting better and better. So really excited to see that jump from Mark, and I believe we have a Watt stats as well from the University of Iowa, another player that has skyrocketed this season.
Wow, I mean, KDR going up from 1.35 to 2.09, that's pretty significant. You've got KPR going up 0.25 and survival rate going up as well. I think my lasting question with this between Imp and Watt is, did they change roles? Or is this, them being consistent in a same role and honestly improving as a player over time, because sometimes a role change can really mean the difference, not just in individual player performance, but for the team overall, right? And once you kind of figure out that niche that you're in as a player, it can mean so much, especially coming from collegiate playing in it myself. Like, it really meant the difference when I was able to go from playing like support, for example, to going on flex. My performance went up so much because I got to do more. I got to be more for the team. So, yeah, kind of wondering about that. But I mean, regardless, great work from both of these players.
Yeah, it really is. And we're going to throw it to a team comparison next between these two squads. We talked about it in a little bit before our first game, but of course, they're both in first in league position. Iowa coming into this as the number 8 seed. Technically, they're number 1 in Division 4, but they have similar rounds played. The team KDR and rating, though, are much, much higher for Iowa, and I think we saw that reflected beautifully in last game because once they got their legs under them, they really started kicking it into gear. They were finding all the first bloods. They were finding good trades, where Marquette, I think, kind of struggled in that second half. I think it's also important to note both of these teams went undefeated and 2-0'd every team they played, which is absurd, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it really is kind of absurd that they're absolutely dominating in their respective division and then going up against each other. It's really back and forth, right? Because it's like they're so used to dominating and they're so used to having a specific performance that adapting to this team in such a different division, it really can pose a challenge, especially if you don't already scrim against them, which we don't know. But in the world that they don't, this is an entirely new experience for them. So it's really understanding the tempo, what you want to accomplish, how to adapt, and get the job done.
Yeah, and going along with the rest of these teams who have their quotes ready as well, so we can kind of get a glimpse as to the mindset, how they're coming in like this. Toucan from Marquette. Friendship is a single soul dwelling in 5 bodies. Insanely prophetic from the bird himself. But yeah, and
Love
Marquette,
that.
despite going down in that map 1, you could tell they're having a good time. They're all chatting in chat all the time. These are players that have played together for a while. They're certainly well known around the scene. So we'll see if they have what it takes to power friendship their way through map number 2. They still have to get through Iowa, who I believe we have a quote from as well. We'll just see what the inside minds are thinking here. I don't know that Div 3 to 4 grand finals was a night. It's certainly looking like it. 2 powerhouse teams going at it. You really can't ask for anything more.
I mean, yeah, it actually is a really great grand final, in a sense for them. Wonderful performance from both teams. Of course, there are a little bit of shortcomings from either side, which we have exacerbated a lot in our conversation. But overall, I mean, these teams are doing really well. Do have to say that, especially for a collegiate level, they're doing wonderfully. Grand finals, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. What it is.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think this is certainly as competitive as we're going to see in the grand finals. I think we have player to watch now as well
yeah,
for
player
the
to
map.
watch.
This consulate is going to be what on University of Iowa, and Iowa has played this map more times. They played it 3 times in compared to only once for the side of Marquette, but they have a very similar kind of win percentages. And what I believe was the player over time as well, and the numbers are near identical, maybe a tiny bit lower than they had over time. So I don't know if that speaks to maybe worse on this map, but still, obviously, extremely well performance by the numbers.
Right. Let's move right on into the map of Consulate. I'm really excited. So, honestly, I gotta ask you, what are you expecting to see, especially on a different but slightly similar map, like Consulate with Marquette and Iowa?
I think we're going to see a little bit of a flip from last time in, I think this map, Bank is also defender sided, but if you know what you're doing on attack and Bank, you can perform really well. Consulate is one that I think for me, teams always struggle to attack on, no matter how good the team is. Mid floor sides, I think, are extremely easy to take, but the top floor and bottom floor, if you don't know what you're doing, it can be really difficult to get going. I love seeing the Demos ban from Marquette. Iowa made great use of that operator. It I believe it was Imp that kind of played Demos a little bit more. So on Marquette's own side. So we'll see just how that shakes out. But yeah, I'm expecting defense to get off to a hard start, and especially if we go based on last game, Marquette did start much stronger than Iowa. So if they repeat that trend, I think we can kind of see just an exact reversal. I don't know if we'll get it, but certainly what I'm hoping to see here.
Let's take a look at this last ban. I'd expect it to be something perhaps like an Azami or a Mira, something pretty standard. It's gonna be a Maestro though, going off the board. You know, you never know what to expect when it comes to collegiate. I've learned that over time. You really never know what the bans are gonna hold for collegiate. I love it. For one, it's a twist and a turn that I don't expect, especially coming from like T4 competitive, where you're like, okay, like they're gonna go for the Izami, they're gonna go for the Mira. No, they go for the Maestro. So it's a welcome change.
An interesting band for sure. I think Maestro, if I'm remembering right, was played once throughout the entire last game. I don't ever remember him getting on the turret. I just remember he jumped out a window and shot someone. So I guess wary of the jump outs here as well. Smelly was particularly proficient on those. A little bit harder to do on Consulate. And a top floor defense first. Yet again, seeing the Tachanka play in competitive just never fails to make every day brighter. I love seeing it. We'll see if it's used well by Toucan. As good as the operator can be, I'll admit, I don't think we saw Tachanka used right once in last game. Never really had that effect that you kind of expect from that character.
Well, I think you really have to have so much experience knowing how to arc the projectiles for Tachanka. You have to. You have to really be a Tachanka player, because otherwise you're just not going to hit the mark with it. And when you have to do it in a millisecond window of just like moving out, into the breach and then moving right back, it could be really difficult. So I think Marquette, they really have to hammer that and work on it. Make sure that the utility usage is going to be very precise. And utility in general, we haven't really seen that great. I mean, we've seen maybe a little bit of C4s going out. We've seen a little bit of frags, but utility is just not making too much waves.
And I love that you mentioned C4 because I think, ironically, there was one C4 kill last game, and it was a team kill. There was the one that the Blitz, trampolined onto himself somehow, but only went down for it. Good ping through the floor. They should find a kill here, and they will. Hattie falls. I love seeing this from Bucks underneath. You don't always get the Buck that, kind of has the wherewithal, has a game knowledge to go below and force out these anchors. But doing it extremely well. Lil Fuziver, I don't know if they're aware, Imp is behind here. Player to watch up in the kills this time, certainly having a better split. So we'll see if that continues here in game number 2. And I also have to admit, I am shocked that Marquette did not ban out this one.
I'm shocked that Marquette wasn't on that default when Hattie was killed. Did you see that? The default was still up and Buck was running towards Hattie.
I still don't think they don't see Imp.
They definitely don't. Definitely not.
Well, they have to.
Oh no.
They had a player downstairs and they just weren't able to find him. Imp is running away and now getting gunned down. Lil Fuzi finally finds it. So in a 3v3, but a little over a minute left. Iowa The question is, how much map space have they really taken away? Without that buck, they don't have a great way to get these shots from underneath without sacrificing one of those. I think there's one Zofia impact left. Marquette still controls basically this entire top floor.
They do, but I mean, they spread themselves out a little bit too far, and Iowa is able to synergize in the way that we saw in that first map. This very well could be an opening for them. But they're just really going to have to play their cards right. They're going to have to play together and have that level of coordination that isn't all too common on the first map that we saw, which was Bank. But Leaf, looking at that player from afar, repelling. Sophia's gonna throw in that stun, and shots are gonna go out with Little Fuziver at about 1 health remaining. Leaf's gonna start pulling out those smoke canisters. It's gonna down the Zoe from the breach, and Leaf finds one, holding out the shotgun, holds the last remaining player for Iowa. You still have the Zofia down but not out, so they can provide that intel for their team. Yings are going to be going out immediately, and that's going to leave finding for the player below, but no! Another defender comes in and saves the day.
The prone shot from the smoke. Great angles there by Leaf, and able to pick up the Zofia outside as well. So, you know, we are going to see it. Marquette. Oh my gosh, it has to be said, the first kill strike has been broken. Streak. 12 straight rounds, finally answered.
I think Iowa, they just weren't really able to get that foothold that you usually see on top floor. I mean, you have to get admin. You have to get that admin, obviously. That is step by step, right? That is the systematic way of taking that top floor area, and especially because Marquette, they didn't have a clash, they didn't really have a shield sitting in that vending area, so it really was free game for Iowa, and they killed the player that was sitting in admin as well. So it really was free game for you. You put a few players up on the windows and you play into it, and that is easy ground for you to take. That's easy map control. The way that Iowa did not take that was a very disappointing because they had the player up, and then they just wasted time and they truly allowed themselves to get stomped on. I mean, Marquette, they were desperate to set the pace straight, and that's exactly what they did. By the end of the round, I mean, you could tell Iowa was kind of scratching their heads wondering what happened.
Yeah, not the strongest opening in the world in any respect there for Iowa, but you know, they had such a strong game number one. Certainly expect them to come back here a little bit. Net early kill just might do it. Smelly onto Hattie below the door with the headshot, and nice angle onto the Izami. And I'll tell you, I'm really interested to see what this Scopos does. It's always such a fun operator, especially when it's being wielded by players that know what they're doing. So definitely going to expect Leaf to have some big plays here. Looks like they're just hiding that shell away for now. So Iowa are going to go vert, but it looks like they're on the first floor. They're not clearing out the second floor, so Leaf could find a really, really nice flank on the robot.
Got Iowa.
Position.
I know this is a very weird position, but Imp will in fact be rewarded for it. Hello. Bull's going to be going down in Toucan to find another kill, and this is what we mean by setting pace. Marquette, they're taking ground back. They're getting that aggression off on the board, and they're being rewarded for it because Iowa, they can't find the trades. They're too far apart, and the communication just isn't there enough that'll synergize in that way. But a flurry of kills, and you've got 2 players up on the board for Iowa. One that has very low health, that's your Thermite, with the diffuser in hand, but you still have the ace of that Scopos, and you've got the smoke canisters left in Marquette, so they still very well could bide out their time. And remember, that 6th player on the defense is time.
Always comes into factor in these rounds. And yeah, you know, I'd like to point out to any viewers if they forgot, it's a bottom floor defense. We're just now seeing the first kill on the bottom floor as a Keck clothesline Smelly there, taken down very early on. Now it's only left to Pilot. A minute left, playing like there's 15 seconds. Oh, smoke grenade's out early, no drones left, and the smoke grenade will do it. How about that, a Keck with the Hail Mary there into yellow, and able to get the kill. Nice job yet again here from Marquette on the defense. And it's looking similar to game 1. Marquette strong out of the gates. But, I mean, I don't know if everyone else, just like me, is asking themselves, when are we going to see Iowa kind of pedal to the metal like they did in game number 1? We know it's only a matter of time, and this is going to be an interesting site defense I also have to point out, I have never seen that bottom floor site defended like that. That was bizarre
Need to
upstairs.
locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Definitely. I mean, I think it was a bit of a late retake, I should say, from Marquette. They played
Attackers have discovered
a
the location
little
of the
bit
bomb.
on that first floor, if I'm correct, but then they just kind of dumped players up there more to find the trade, and they really held ground. Honestly, I kind of liked it because Iowa, they weren't expecting it, and they really caught them off guard. And Marquette so rewarded for it because Iowa, they were just getting the position. This was such a
5 seconds to go.
transitional moment for them that they had no response to it. So if they're trying to get into a position, they're, you know, taking a little bit of time, that would have been the perfect time for Marquette to spring a plan, and that's what they did. But yeah, I do kind of agree with you. The initial positioning was a little bit confusing, but hey, I mean, it worked. It worked. So you gotta give them something.
Yeah, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And what's not broke is firing some bullets through the floor. Pilot hits a couple on the toucan. But with the angle, not going to do a whole ton of damage to the Tachanka. We'll stand strong. Seeing a pulse blade as well. I always love when we see pulse in competitive situations. It either goes beautifully or it trolls and you lose a round. So we'll wait to see what it is here for Marquette on Marquette. Smelly taking a lot of damages here from the floorboards. Marquette is playing really split. They have some above, some below. There is only one on the actual first floor. Goes into there. Still sitting inside of Expo. See just how long before this Goyo is kind of forced out. Now with the Goyo and the Tachanka, they do have a lot of time to stall. The two players with C4 in the basement. I was going to need to clear that, and I wonder if they'll have Lil Fuzi for kind of use that scanner to locate the pulse.
Questions. Time is ticking for Iowa to find themselves in the building. You're gonna have Nook. He's gonna play in on this backside. Very well might seed out that pulse in the
the
next
pulse
few
gonna seed?
seconds here. Yeah, very well might not see. Oh, but they do at the last second. Is this a one engagement? Oh, but you have two players looking at Watt from behind, and Watt's gonna have to concede that position and try to pivot play for something else. But now, at the very least, Iowa knows that there's two players below, and they can play for that.
1 minute left to play here in round number 3. It's another rather strange defensive setup from Marquette. We'll see if it can work out for him. And it's taken a long time to get that first blood. As we were saying all throughout map 1, we've seen it in map 2. These are two extremely aggressive teams, so this is off-putting to not see a kill until what's literally going to be the last 45 seconds of a round, and there it is, right on cue. Leaf taking down Smelly. Solus able to kind of lurk back to this front door. Watt and one shot onto Hattie, but the FMG is not a high-damage weapon. The second kill of the game rolls through Toucan. Finds it onto Lil Fuzi for it, so now you lose your sight on that pulse below, and you're going to lose another player as well. Leaf with a second, still not being punished in that position. Ghoul and Watt are the two left. Nook is downstairs. He's going to get one. Tachanka rotating through. Gets taken out. Watt cannot land the shot as Hattie gets it. 2 C4s from below in only 15 seconds. This is going to be yet another round of Marquette. Barring a catastrophic collapse, but this team is too good to do that. University of Iowa now down 3-0. You saw them take their time out at this point last game. We'll see if that happens again. Regardless, you need to find a way to right the ship as Kim collects the final kill.
It seems like everywhere that Iowa looked for an opening, a player on Marquette was. Right? You had that shadow player going from below, trying to find something, trying to find that back opening, but you really couldn't because you had the Pulse playing below. You also had the Valkyrie playing below. That was a really great defense for Marquette because not only did they have somebody everywhere, but they also had a support player with that somebody too. So they could easily bring the fight to Iowa should they stack players in a specific spot. But thankfully for Marquette, Iowa didn't, right? They had a lot of players playing on their own, which really did not aid their cause. I mean, when you have so many players alone, you can only spread yourself so thin before it becomes a detriment. I think it really was a detriment to Iowa. They were not together. They did not have that synergy that you see from that direct, aggressive Iowa team, and it didn't play in their favor. Now, another quick note, no blitz on the board. I am very concerned about the no blitz on the board, especially in a map like this where you can get a good kick out of blitz on top floor. We're not seeing it.
Yeah, and I mean, like Marquette was the team that played shields more, but I think Iowa still took a shield in maybe not majority of the round, but it seemed pretty close to half when they were up. So yeah, I'd certainly expect more shield play. Like you said, obviously Blackbeard banned out, so you're not going to get to play. American Op, still a couple left that I was just not utilizing. And with them being spread out like last round, luckily this round I think is going to kind of force them to condense together. This is one map where you can kind of get on the takedowns. Only thing they really have to worry about would be that Mew, C4. Other than that, there's no tools downstairs to really deny this push as it moves upstairs. They don't have a buck either, so I'd assume they're going to leave this middle floor alone and focus more towards admin, which is what I think you wanted to see them do in round number 1. So I think definitely a smart move here from Iowa.
I did. I definitely did. Because that's truly the only way that you can get a foothold on the top floor without having to play directly on site or sit on windows the entire time, which we know that Iowa isn't great at. They don't usually sit on windows, they don't usually bide out their time because that mid-round isn't the best for them when they're split up. They need to be playing together, they need to be having that energy directed one way and towards the site. And the only way that you are going to have that for a team like this is playing through admin. So I think it is a really good idea on their part. In the meantime, got your players. For Marquette, and the presence of Iowa is ever so increasing from their end. We've got smoke canisters rolling out already with about 1:15 left on the board. And another player down. Marquette, I mean, the deficit is growing larger. Leaf, though, with the response, picks the player off with a shotgun, but Smelly to find another. Imps that last remaining player up on the board. It's going to have to isolate these ones to win out the round. So we're trying to play from afar, but not quite finding anyone just yet. It's going to get damage from the side, and the diffuser will go down for the attack. Not finding anything. You got Iowa, they're playing back now and just playing on really long angles for him. Not working out too well. These defenders here on Marquette all but lost for him. And there you go. Iowa Esports clean up the round in 4v1.
And a nice round too to get their first one back. Very convincing round for Iowa. We do have a small technical pause coming through. One player's having a little bit of difficulties, so we'll be back in just a second with the rest of this game. But this kind of seems similar to the first one around we saw, right? Marquette gets off to a really hot start, and then Iowa just get that one round that is emphatic, that is big, that can start momentum. What do you think they have to do to build on that? Because I think from our point of view, at least, it looks like it's just altogether a more confident attack, which is kind of hard to diagnose sometimes. So how do they keep building on that for these next 2 rounds?
I definitely agree with you. I mean, I think that's really what it is. It's that confidence, it's that momentum building for them. And I think they're really beginning to learn the pace and adapt to it in the way that Marquette defends on this map. Because, you know, it usually takes a team on their attack a few rounds to really seed out, okay, how is this team playing and how can we play better against them? But you can tell the wheels are turning, the communication is working for Iowa, so they really just have to keep doing what they're doing, right? They have to start trying different takes. They have to start trying these new creative ways to get in the objective. Perhaps a direct take would work really well for them, especially because we know that they're a team that works really well together and not really play so split up, right? This map, Consulate, is a map that is so easy to get split up on, right? You can play very individual from one another and still get things done, but I personally don't quite think that is Iowa's strong suit. I think they play much better when they're together, playing towards one objective, playing towards one goal. So if they continue on that route and they play with that momentum, they play with that synergy, they're essentially going to be unstoppable on the rest of their attacking rounds. And Mark, they're going to have to respond in some way, perhaps by playing those early round aggression engagements, but we didn't really quite see that from them on the side of Bank. I think that's a big reason of why they lost those last few rounds on their defense. But I think overall, this is great from Iowa that we're finally seeing it. The question is it too late? or is perhaps Mark going to adapt at this point?
Yeah, the question is, I think, perfectly if it's too late because we've already seen more rounds on defense that I think either split got when we went on to bank. 3 defensive rounds, pretty strong so far, even if they lose the next 2 from Marquette. It's a good start to be sure. But Iowa, I think last time, once they started really coming together, only losing 1 of their next 8 rounds, it just took them some time, right, to get that familiarity, to really kind of get the guns warmed up, get the brains warmed up. The problem is they should be at this time. So I don't know. That kind of puts it out in my mind. Is this Marquette just being the better team on the map so far? Because theoretically, Iowa should have been locked in from minute 1, continuing that strong streak that they had. And they just didn't through those first couple rounds. They really look like they floundered. Granted, this 4th round seems like the classic Iowa. We've kind of gotten used to seeing over this last hour and a half. So I think absolutely a good sign for them. But then once they have to go to defense too, we'll see if they can continue it there because offense was their forte last round on bank. Even through their defensive rounds, they really weren't like massive defense. So getting these last couple on offense, I think are going to be really critical for them in order to end this thing in 2 maps, because otherwise we very easily could be looking at a clubhouse map 3.
And another question, we know that Marquette is great at bringing shields. Is Iowa going to be stopped out by Marquette's aggression with the shields again, like we saw on bank? And especially because I like to think of it in a way that if you can use shields, you know how to play against them. And we haven't really seen them play shields a whole lot on their attack, right? I mean, if they can use shields, they know how to play them, they have ideas to play against them. And again, they're just not using them. So,
Attackers need to
really,
locate and defuse
I
bombs.
really want to see how they play against perhaps a Blitz or a Monty when they're on their defense. But of course, we haven't hit that yet. We're going to be going on to Garage Defense, which we have seen this one other time. It was Marquette's win, and it was a 2v2 towards the end, which Marquette held down pretty well. But Iowa, they were also very isolated. So, like I said, if they can play together, if they can play, I don't want to say linearly because I think that sort of devolves their strategy, but if they can play coordinated in a way that really forces them to focus on a single objective, then that's going to be to their advantage.
Yeah, I think I'd personally like to see a maybe little like less, I don't know if this is the right word for it, but less frantic attack than we saw the last time. The last time there were like 6 kills inside of 15 seconds, and then Iowa with a minute left, utility still in their belts, just kind of both walked through a doorway, got killed. You can't be doing that. Marquette is a good team, even with your big round 1, or map 1 rather, victory. Can't be coming in here just expecting this team to lose. And we do see that Monty that you wanted to get. That's awesome. that's cool timing there from Watt. Shoots a teammate's drone.
I know. I love a good Monty. I love a good Monty, and I love a good Blitz. I really have enjoyed seeing them in this current meta so far, because I think it's essentially a case study of how a team can use utility, how a team can deal with quite literally a physical roadblock, but also with really high levels of aggression, and how they can diffuse that. So it kind of gives you a little glimpse into how a team functions as a unit, and how they coordinate, and how they can use mobility to their advantage.
And I think it's important to point out too, Bank is like a very big, very open map. Consulate is big. It has a lot of small rooms. It doesn't have a ton of like cross-map angles. And I think that makes Shields just stronger on this, even when you look back at Bank, which are already pretty good at. So the Shields on this map should be finding big impacts. It's yet another slow round, a minute and a half in, no first blood. Out of the ordinary for these teams, and right on freaking cue. There it goes. Little Fuzivert takes down Hattie. That's the Azami down. Didn't see how many Kiba barriers were thrown. We still have some players up. Gas grenades used. This Marquette team uses these gas grenades extremely early. There's only 1 left with a minute remaining and a Monty. That's not a good combo, but 2 C4s should dispel the aggression, and bullets can do that too. Imp takes down Smelly in the main hall. Beef is still upstairs on this Scopos, just waiting to kind of make that rotation. All the players on offense, except for Lil Fuzi, were on the stairs though.
This is true. This is very true. I have to wonder if AKEC knows that a C4 can do the same amount of damage as a smoke canister in terms of area denial, at least for a few seconds. But last few seconds on the clock as I speak. Akex going to try to fast rotate, and it will in fact work. You've got all the players on Marquette looking down into the eyes of Iowa, and not a lot going on for them at this point. They're trying to brute force their way into the objective, but it's not quite working out for them. Akek and Imp, they're still the last remaining players on the board, so this is technically a 2v2. Pool's gonna find one, and that's a 2v1 now. Imp's gonna try to play this from afar, but Pool's got diffusers, gonna start that plant. And Little Fuzzy Bird from the side is gonna pick off that round. What a great shot, and a wonderful end to this 5th round. Now we're on round 6.
And that was perfect timing from that flick. Obviously, from our point of view, you could see like the silhouettes through the walls. The players can't see that. No idea in game how close that Kaid was to just shutting down that plant. Just a couple of inches, but a well-timed flick from Lil Fuziver on that Nomad. Shuts it all down, and now going back upstairs. Iowa with another round win, granted not as big of a round win as they had in round number 4, but a round win nonetheless. Marquette, if they can end this in a 4-2, maybe shut down a little bit of this momentum, but last time we saw it, kind of let Iowa coast through the rest of that game, feeling good, playing even better. I think this is the most important round of the half easily for Marquette. I'm a little surprised they don't take their time out here. I know if I was in their shoes, if I was a coach, a player, regardless, need to be finding some way to lock down this round here. And a different looking attack as well. They have a dry rant for a second, but they're going to go with Grim instead. And no Ying this time on the attack. We've seen Iowa really make great use of that operator. I'm kind of surprised they don't bring it every round.
Me too, but I think Ying had much less effect on top floor than she did on bottom floor, just because there are so many nooks and crannies in that top floor side. And I'm not surprised that they're not bringing her, because they tried it a few times around, but really to such little effect. And I think Sense is arguably a better operator to have on this, because at the very least you're shutting down specific angles that defenders can play at from afar, rather than just kind of having a burst of light in a very concentrated area. So I like that change, definitely.
See if they're able to make use of the Sense here. While at 2-5, yes, to get the gun going in this matchup, but we already know, since we touched on them earlier, a very good player for Iowa. Saw it in game 1. We'll see if it gets warmed up here in game number 2. Yet again, a while before the first pick. 1 minute in so far. Neither of these teams able to make that first point of contact. Toucan takes a little bit of damage from the window, it seems. Believe that's Ghoul playing out there, so already, I'm a little concerned for Iowa. Their admin take, that worked so well. They are now starting to get going, but it has been a little bit in the round. See if they can make it as effective as last time. Watt getting close to death here, but if you have more than 1 HP, you are still a valuable member of this team. So let's throw out all those ROUs also, so definitely an important player to stay alive here for Iowa.
Like this in Iowa so far, but I have to wonder where this grand engagement is going to occur, because you got about 115 left on the board, and the cards, they're going to start to fall in this house for Marquette, especially because you have the Tachanka on the board for area denial, especially because you have the smoke up on the board, especially because Iowa has the Sense. They have the players for the execute. They just have to find that way through the blockade and past the mid-round efficiency block that most teams find themselves in. But Watt's gonna pick up one from a lurking smoke. Hello, tried to get that kill, tried in desperation, but a little bit too aggressive, Marquette, and especially with the smoke of all people. Looks like vending is gonna be a more complicated situation for Iowa to find themselves through, as you've got now the Warden trying to play up on these players. Gonna get nomaded out though and taken down immediately. Last few remaining seconds left up on the clock, and you've got 3 players for the side of Marquette. You still have the Tachanka up on the board, so that's area denial for you in these last remaining seconds where it really does count. Still 4 players for Iowa though. And they very well could make a great execute for themselves as Smelly can get in In fact, the ace will get in. He's gonna have to plant the diffuser, and Imp's the last remaining player up on that board. And once again, there will not be a one round for Marquette.
An even split for Iowa going into the defending half, and if I'm a Marquette fan right now, I'm getting worried. It looks like it did in game one. They just kind of folded, quite honestly, in the second half of their defending rounds. It wasn't outstanding tactics. It wasn't outstanding gunfire. It was better from Iowa, but Marquette just losing a grip on it. Have to find one now on attack. So are going to have an opportunity to, maybe reset the pace. It's something you talked about a lot with Iowa, and certainly the inverse is going to be true here for Marquette. When they opened up in match number 1, they were swinging in windows, they were letting bullets fly, they were doing an incredibly good job early, kind of setting the tempo, getting themselves out there. You're going to have to do the same here in game number 2, but noticeable player lacking from the leaderboard here. No shield ups from Marquette, and I think I have to agree with what you were saying kind of along that break. I think it's a mistake. I think the shield ups need to be played on this map.
I do too. I mean, you've got the Clash up on the board for Iowa now, which is the right decision to make. The way that Iowa is setting up this top floor hold is the way that Marquette should have done it. Because you could tell in that last round, Marquette was walking in blind to a lot of their engagements in vending from like so many different spots, right? If you had intel on vending, you could have easily walked in with a pre-fire, right? You would have had an immediate edge on the engagement, but you didn't. So you kind of just walked in, tried to ego peek it, tried to swing it, and the hero plays aren't going to work, right? And mind you, it was a 5v5 at that point. So Marquette, they were just dropping bodies by peeking, by having those unforced errors and getting ego-driven with it. It was very unnecessary for them. But if you have a defense that plays up like this with the Clash, with the shield on vending, then you immediately have that level of intel that you didn't before, and you have the guns to back it up with the player behind shield. And are we seeing this right now? Smelly with the run out on Hattie? Huge, but it's gonna be traded in the first minute of the round. I mean, 4 for 4, right? We're sitting 4 for 5 for 5?
4 for 4. 4 for 4.
Crazy.
Yeah. Crazy, though. The first time they've actually been traded out for one of those jump outs, all 3 times managed to escape down the sewer when we were back on bank. But I mean, I guess trading yourself for a Twitch whose utility gets better over time, you're already Jaeger, you got all your ADS's placed. It's not the worst in the world. The Smelly's gun's been one of the lone bright spots here. Or, sorry, one of the bright spots, pardon me, for Iowa. Toucan takes out Ghoul. I believe Toucan on that Amaris just wasn't expecting it. Still outside, though. So unsure how the Tachanka lost that engagement. Unfortunate one, though, nonetheless. But with 3 defenders remaining, you have a Clash, you have a Glaio, you have all the tools needed to stall this out. But Marquette, and specifically Toucan, are not going to give you the time to work with that. I'm just waiting to hear the Amari go.
Got the Glaio playing from below. That's a great kill
The
from
planting?
underneath, but the Amari's going to look for the plant. Doesn't go
Why'd she get
through
off?
with it. Does not commit to it. Hello. Imp is now the last remaining player on the board for Marquette. What an insane lapse of communication. You could have committed on that.
If Marquette stays on the diffuser, they probably win this round. That diffuser goes down 10 times out of 10, unfortunately there. Maybe miscommunicated, maybe thought the Clash was playing a little bit closer than she was. All defenders now back on this top floor. Imp takes a bullet, not from the Clash, but from another source. And the grenade right back towards him, but Watt picks it up before Imp can nade themselves. Generous of the castle. And this Iowa team continues to stay on their roll. Marquette still have not used that timeout, but they have to find some way to regroup. This is not the number 1 seed. This is not the Marquette we are used to seeing in this server.
So, I liked Marquette's window play on that last round. I liked when they were outside and getting those kills. I really liked when they were baiting for the kill and they actually got it. However, the execute was very botched. I mean, the Lion was 10 light years away. You did not have that level of communication for the execute. I mean, why did we get off planting the bomb? Was there players that were essentially like enveloping you? Like, what were we doing there? I just, it was a very confusing, very botched execute overall. And I think Marquette knows that, and they just kind of like, screw it, we're gonna brute force it.
Attackers are moving to defuse
And it
the
really
bomb.
didn't work out for them.
Yeah, and I think it's seeming more and more like this to me. Obviously, you don't really know what the case is because you're not in these players' comms, right? You don't know what they're saying, you don't know what they're thinking most of the time. But it seems to me Marquette are just not used to being behind. I think we commented about it before this map started. Neither of these teams have dropped a map so far this season. Well, until now for Marquette. I think this is just, they're not used to being behind. They're not used to having to play from a deficit. And it's really showing because they're making frantic plays. They're making, I think, not simple mistakes, but things when you start to rush, you'll start to kind of slip on a few of the fundamentals of Siege. And that's what we're seeing here from them, whether mistimed plans, miscommunications, stuff that we're not used to seeing this roster do. These are 5 incredibly talented players. Right now, just aren't looking like they're ready for what Iowa's given to them. This is going to be a tough attack, too. Against this Mira, they do not have a tool to deal with it.
They don't, but they have the RAM to play from above. I actually don't mind them not having a tool as long as they have that RAM. They also have that sledge. They also have the nades. I mean, they have a plethora of things at their disposal to deal with those Miras. Not particularly from a Twitch side, not particularly from a utility side, but, I mean, the Vert doesn't lie. And I love Vert. I think Vert is great, especially on a map like this, where there's so many opportunities for the attackers to take advantage of it. And from above, you've got Imp already getting a kill on the round. That's Smelly to go down, and everything turns to chaos. Now the players of Iowa look to retake on that first floor. Looks to be a 2-man take.
Yeah, had no players on that first floor, so now they're going to have to walk back up, open the Ryora too, and send bullets through. So the attack certainly should know that the defenders are flanking, but they don't! A Keck is caught off guard, and a Keck manages to get both! What a play from the Ryora! Huge from a Keck, maybe round saving here for Marquette. The C4 gets one, but Diffuser's down. And just like that, Marquette come thundering back with a pair of double kills. What a round from them to even things up.
I mean, chaos. That's honestly all you can attribute it to. And you gave Marquette an opening to get right into piano and start demolishing the floor. That is really the nail in the coffin for Iowa there. Because you give Marquette a foothold anywhere, right? They're going to abuse it. We've seen this. Right? You have to bring the fight to them. They know how to play direct, they know how to play aggressive, and especially with the RAM on the board, especially with the sledge on the board, you don't want them to have that vertical presence because they're just gonna play for the round, have a great execute on it, and really leave you speechless. But ultimately, I think Marquette, great round for them, okay? They were able to transition from that vert into an execute very well, which is what we didn't see all too often from them in the previous round. And on Bank as well.
5 seconds remaining.
An interesting choice here from Low Fuzi, going with the Boss G on Vigil. It's a choice that's becoming more and more popular from players, and 9 kills already, so certainly the aim is warmed up in this match, no question about it. But with Hattie on this IQ, can essentially track Fuzi whenever they choose to use that gadget. This is going to be an interesting interaction to keep eyes on, and I want to see a bigger upstairs defense here. I think we're going to get it. It looks like the blinking on the name, the Warden and the Vigil are both upstairs. Smelly has now made their way up as well. So this time Marquette gonna face much stiffer kind of defense. Trying to get up here, but they are into the top floor. And they have to be careful because Fuzi is on the top floor, working inside of that copper room. Now Boss G is about to take someone's head off if they do not drone this right. Looks like Toucan is on the drone zone, so should know Fuzi's close.
Should is not a definite. You still got little Fuzi Vert
like
sitting up on top. They don't seem to know. god, is this going to be a feed for the Vigil and for the Ward? I mean, all we have to do is sit here and wait for the kills to emerge up on the board. Because we know that these engagements are going to be big and they're going to be explosive, especially because Marquette is such a direct team. If you wait too long, Marquette's going to get in the objective. So Iowa, they're going to have to act fast in the next remaining seconds here. Gunfire is going to go out, but it will not hit on anyone, as that Warden will, in fact, take that engagement.
It's a much better kind of contention here on this first floor from Iowa this time. Problem is, they're still not making much headway. Marquette do have that vertical play open. There are 2 C4s left remaining, but they're both on the first floor, so they can't make any vert play. Smelly here on the Kaid. I don't know if Marquette have this drone. They don't have a Ryora on it. Lofuzi is just waiting for their opportunity. Smelly's now on the second floor, and Lofuzi cannot land the shots. Just one lands onto Imp. Hatch now open, so they're putting pressure on Marquette, but no results until just now. That's going to be Watt to open things up onto Hattie. Big kill there from the Warden. Looks like one more player moving in as well. It's going to be Pilot. Watt gets a second onto Keck, who will down them. Pilot now, good position to revive. It's only Imp left upstairs. 2 cannon lead. We're trying to make a play for this diffuser. It just might go down again. Imp has to stay alive in this situation, but will not be able to at Smelly from behind. Diffuser going down. It looks like it'll get planted. Indeed it will. The Kaid downs himself with the C4. Leaf gets a kill before 2 PM falls. It's only Leaf in a none v4. All the kills roll through to Iowa, and this time Iowa pulls back ahead, up 5-4.
Huge late retake from Iowa. I like their utility usage, even though it was a little botched for the Kaid. They had a lot of impacts for them. They had a lot of C4s. You could tell they were waiting and expecting that really direct take, especially with the shield operator, which is something that you like to see, having that little contingency plan for yourself. But they didn't even really need it, right? Because there was no shield up on the board for Marquette, and they honestly had an almost non-existent flank watch. That's the exact reason that Iowa was able to do such a late retake with essentially no punishment to it, right? There wasn't too much of a trade situation going on. It just seemed like fair, free ground for Iowa to take on that first floor. Once the execution started getting in motion, it's almost like Marquette forgot about that first floor, and all of the players from Iowa start flooding in, and you just can't deal with it. And once you have that top control with Vert, it's essentially game over for Marquette, even if they all sit outside. If it's a 4v1, you still lose.
Yeah, I think it looked like to me too, just comfortability from the last round. They thought the exact same thing would work. They kind of just neglected the fact that Iowa was going to have a different defense. It just kind of tore them apart in that piano room. Unfortunate for Marquette. And now they're only 1 round away from going on the wrong side of match point, already down 1 map. The underdogs here are starting to look like the favorites. They're bringing out this clash again that Marquette was not able to find an answer for last time around. We'll see if they do this time, because it looks like it is going to be a very, very similar defense to the one they ran back in round 7. Which, if everyone remembers, Marquette nearly won that round. In all respects, they probably should have won that round. Outside of a small mental blunder on their part, so hopefully this time they're going to fix that.
I mean, that's the hope, right? But it doesn't quite look like they have the same lineup. We're going to be seeing Dope instead, which is something that I personally love to see. I love a good Doke play. I really love how it can come into great use that late round, trying to seed out the rest of those defenders, and even early round with that roam clear. I mean, Dokevishi just has such a universal use all throughout the round, and it's somebody who you do kind of want to keep alive. So it's going to have a lot of weight on that as we climb into the last minute and a half of the round.
No kills just yet. Both these teams looking for their first. Imp here on the first floor trying to isolate some of these roamers, but it's only going to be Smelly on the Jaeger downstairs, and with that phone ringing should help to see where that Jaeger is. Now back on the top floor, Marquette, with all their players alive, have a good setup towards making something happen, and it looks like admin control, at least temporarily, is going to be theirs. Low Fizzy for push out for now. with most of the defenders on the other side of the building, this is admin control very early on for Marquette. 1 minute remaining to make this push happen. This is where that Tachanka and Goyo are going to get oh so difficult to contend with.
Exactly. I mean, it's one choke point from the next, right? Still got the Clash up on the board. You still got the Tachanka up on the board. And Marquette has yet to deal with that with about 45 seconds left up on the clock. It's not looking great for them in terms of being stomped out by sort of utility that Iowa has. I mean, they're truly just going to have to brute force it at this point. They're going to have to play forward and play with numbers, which Iowa seems to be doing as well. So it really just comes down to an engagement of who can win what gunfight, right? You're still at a stalemate of 5 players with only 15 seconds left on the clock. This is almost unprecedented in the current meta. Toucan, though, and Imp to follow up on the kill feed. That's a leap with the 3rd, Hattie with the 4th. Almost a full man, crazy flawless round, but it won't quite be. And Marquette all in the last few seconds of the round to win it out. That's the 20-second meta for you.
Barely even. That's a 10-second meta.
That's a 5.5 second meta.
Everything's so slow the entire round. And literally in 10 seconds comes crashing down. All the players from Iowa unable to stay up. And I think that's just a beautiful example of how technical this game can be. You don't have to get a kill until the last, 12, 13 seconds, and you can just run them all through after that. Beautiful job taking away map space, setting up angles for themselves. Nearly let too much time slip off the clock, but that's got to be a big mental round win for Marquette too. Normally in those situations, if it's so many people live, the defense win those, right? Like 9 times out of 10. Have so much more utility to set up the late game. So the fact that Marquette wins that, very, very big one here for the attack. 2 rounds left remaining, so somebody is going to go onto match point and then have a chance at overtime no matter what happens this round. Going to be 2 very, very big ones for these teams. This is where the stronger mental team, I firmly believe, really shows up in these kind of situations.
I mean, yeah, especially when you are, this is 12 plus 10, that is 22 rounds deep into Siege against the same team, mind you. I mean, at one point, it just gets repetitive. Again and again and again and again, and it's so hard to come up with something new, especially when you're so set in a certain way of playing. You know, you want to be playing against a team that does differently, you want to be continuing, but you just can't. You have to keep playing against this team, and you have to keep your mind in it. That's what the consistency is all about. That's what the mental fortitude that you were talking about is all about. Having those last second flashes of brilliance where the decision making really does shine through, even when you are tired out from playing against a team again and again and again. However, looks to be an admin take from the side of Marquette. Question remains, will Iowa attempt to ego peek in the last 15 seconds of the round, or will they play it back and try to let Marquette play in to their detriment? Especially because you got that Clash up on the board again, you still got the Tachanka up on the board, and you likely have a shield player in vending. So you really can play well with time here. It's just up to Iowa to keep that pace going for themselves.
1.5 minutes left to play here in round number 11. Lofuzi was on an interesting angle, maybe for looking for something outside that electric wall. Now he'll snuck back to the first floor. There are a couple members of Marquette, and it's going to be Watt to find the first as Lee falls. Toucan picks up a trade very early. Watt takes down Hattie as well, so this time the trade's starting much earlier on, favoring the defense 4v3 now for Iowa. Looks like Lofuzi is back in the basement. This could be a huge late round flank. Nearly gets another kill here. Watt is looking for blood with the UMP there on the second floor. Toucan extremely low. Iowa putting themselves closer and closer to a round 11 victory. This clash is just straight up going to kill Toucan. And here comes Lofuzi, the player we were looking for to find this late round flank. Those 2 players are at the bottom of the stairs, and they're going to walk right into them, but Toucan gets the kill. Lofuzi was not ready for it. 10th of the game here for Toucan. We're back to a 3-on-3. This clash still only needs to hit the ace once to get that kill. One player sitting on the vending machine. And the clash goes down. Pilot falls, drops the shield. The castle runs right into the waiting arms of Toucan. And just like that, it's all on Ghoul. 70 rounds, fire grenades, and a whole lot of hope to stave out this round. Toucan falls. Ghoul now has to kill the planter. Going to be planting in the same spot it has been 4 times before. Not going to get there, though, and now has to contend with Imp, who's close to this desk. Does Imp know where Ghoul is? I don't think they do. Ghoul moving in the doorway, should find a shot onto the Snowman, gives himself away, and pre-fires, not going to get it. Damage landing onto Ghoul. Both players have to reload, and Nakek is able to do so. Imp does as well. It's all winding down here for Ghoul. One player on the stairs, the last on default. And if Marquette plays this right, they are going to take us to round point. Marquette needs one more round to push us on to map 3.
Poor utility for the side of Iowa. I mean, they had that.
Great.
They absolutely had that. And yeah, great question. What's Clash doing? Right? You had a player in vending supporting the Clash. That player just runs right out into the barrel of the ace playing on top Spiral. Poor utility, poor communication from the side of Iowa. I think when they're in these late round situations, they really just give it up. I don't know what it is. I think they get antsy, they get a little bit desperate, and they know Marquette is also getting desperate. And when they get the pressure, they just crack. It's so very unfortunate to see that happen in real time. Going from a 5v3 all the way to a 2v1 post plant. I mean, you expect this team to win, and they just do not. They cannot finish out those rounds. It's a very, very weak finish. And on top of that, you had nobody on the side of Spiral watching it. Not even just watching it, but perhaps having intel on that side, listening out. I mean, they got entirely blindsided, the side of Iowa, from that ace positioning, which great on Marquette to find the opening from the side, but also, why was there no intel? So, it's really, you can really take it either way from these teams, but either way, good round for Marquette.
Pilot falls off the spawn peak, I think probably rightly so. You know, you don't want to put your team down one player early in this situation. And I think you hit it perfectly with what you said earlier. Iowa just seems antsy. If you remember back in round 10, they all take gunfights at 12 seconds. They literally do not need to. They just put fire on the bomb. Last round, they have a 5v3. They tagged ace. They know that Toucan was one shot. And they all just peek ones. No chance of refrags, nothing, and end up falling. Marquette right now is just playing Fundamental Siege better. I think it's something that was ailing them a little bit earlier in this game. Now that they've settled down, they have the advantage, and they know it. Iowa, they're going to be in a tough spot to win this round because it's just been going Marquette's way. Still, though, regardless, 1 minute gone, and you're on the basement. The question is, can they keep the wall closed this time? Marquette has been very clear and trying to play from piano in the wall, and this time, the piano player will not survive. A Keck dies on this Ryorah, and he has been one of the biggest bright spots in them attacking this basement.
Indeed, I mean, one of the top fraggers, too, for Marquette. 3rd on the board, so I guess not one of the top fraggers, but still, you're still having a great performance for your team. You're going to go down. Little Fuziberto is going to go down in the same breath. That's that sledge on the flank launch, which, great on Marquette to be playing that flank launch. Now you got Smelly, though. And Pilot to pick up 2 kills. That's really going to put Iowa on the edge to win out this round. Playing that vert from below. You don't expect that to be a win for Iowa, but it will. What a complete upset. Leaf is the last remaining player on the board for Marquette.
Looking closer and closer to overtime here for Marquette, Iowa. Saw last time attacking the basement side, it was the other way around, but Iowa getting antsy with plenty of time, and Leaf can do the same. Can't find the first angle with time on the clock, and just like that, map number 2 is heading to overtime. Marquette need to find this one to stay alive, the number 1 seed, trying to make their playoff run just a little bit deeper. It has to be said, Iowa starting on defense, very, very big, very obvious advantage now for Iowa getting the favored side.
Indeed. Absolutely. And I mean, they've been playing Marquette trying to crack their defense or I should say attack, trying to crack their attack these past few rounds.
Attackers need to locate
Right, so
and
they have experience with this, and now they're going to get another opportunity to crack it again. They're going to go downstairs to Garage, which is definitely a more favored site for them. In last round, I really loved how they used the vert against Marquette. You don't usually see that. You usually have a big advantage when you use a vert from above, but Iowa holding their ground, trying to do the retake for that Garage side, it really worked out for them. Definitely upset Marquette there in that moment. They were not expecting it, which great decision making from Iowa.
Yeah, we need to see I think honestly, an entirely different attack here from Marquette, because their first attack on the site, right, it worked really well. But now they've done the same thing twice, and for lack of better words, they have got demolished. The last 2 times they've tried this attack, it just looks like it's the same thing. It's all the same operators. You know, maybe it's ignorance on my part for not knowing how these players approach it, how much time goes into building these strats, right? You got something you really believe in. But when it's not worked twice now, and not worked fairly impressively, I'm shocked to see them going for it again. And the C4 will hit from Lil Fuzi for Hattie, continuing to struggle to put some rounds, or some kills rather, up on the board. Unfortunately, out of this round for Marquette.
What a great use of utility from Iowa. I mean, we've been seeing the C4 kills definitely a lot more in this game, which I think is really on part of it being a slower sort of round, or slower rounds, period, in the pacing of this map. Because we're not seeing that blitz, we're not seeing that Monty as much, we're not seeing a very fast take. Rather, Iowa, they can slow down, they can take their time, they can have more precise utility usage. Nico, gonna be walking on this bottom yellow side, trying to find the opening, trying to find something in desperation. Now that you're down 1 player, you do have the wall open, but you don't quite have Vert written out for you at the moment, because Iowa, they're not gonna fall for it that 3rd time. Playing from afar, you got the pulse with the little punch hole.
Crazy angle.
I know, right? Crazy angle. Absolutely absurd. Rand's gonna go out though. That's your vert presence finally from Marquette. It's about 115. They got a little bit of time to work with.
Gotta be careful. Pilot's got a C4 in their hand, just waiting for the right moment. Looks like they're gonna toss it out very soon here, and they're gonna get a kill with it. It falls just like that. Vertical pressure down, but 2 from the Garage. Toucan with a nice double. Cool and smelly fall, and now Watt goes as well, just like that. Marquette look like they're on the brink of elimination here in round number 13, but turning it up right in time. Vert is back downstairs and gets Leaf, who is not looking. Unfortunate death there for the attack. Now locked in a 2-on-2. The plant is starting. No C4s left remaining. Yet again, they get off the plant. Marquette is having trouble committing to the diffuser. They're going to get 1 kill, though. Toucan with the 3rd of the round. Looking for the 4th. The diffuser goes down this time. Player watching from Pillar, and they hit it. Marquette with the opening round, pushing us on to match point. They are not done yet.
Certainly not. What a great pickup to the round. Toucan, hello. Crazy kill feed from that Thermite. Found that opening from the side, and Iowa was left helpless in that moment. You gotta be watching all those angles. You gotta be aware of the positioning of all the attackers around you, not just the players from above. Iowa, they got a little bit too comfortable towards the end there, which is a commonality, or it's a common occurrence, I should say, from Iowa. This happened not 1, not 2, but 3 rounds. And that is exactly how they lost defense rounds again and again and again. They're just not changing that up. They're not saying, hey guys, pull back, okay? We need to get the pace correct. We need to stop being so aggressive. And this was also an issue that they had with Bank, too. Iowa, they weren't able to have that good defensive balance where they could play in that elevator side and play back a little bit and then still save their lives without having too much collateral. And also managed to get some kills on the board. No. They all died, and it allowed Marquette to gain that momentum, to gain that confidence in the round. And I think it's happening over and over and over again because once Marquette they find that opening, they're gonna abuse it. And Iowa, they're not ready for it.
I think it's also crazy too, like contrasting the last two maps. I feel like map 1 was a lot of these teams kind of getting on runs, doing everything right. Whereas in map 2, it's been some of these teams just making mistakes, and granted the other teams are capitalizing on them. But I was more impressed with the stuff in map 1. We need to see one of these teams step up and just really dominate rather than just reacting to kind of the oversteps and the missteps that their enemies are making. Also, has to be pointed out, Marquette are going to the middle floor for their overtime defense. Not upstairs, not downstairs. They are going to test their luck with notoriously one of the hardest bomb sites to defend. That being said, was one of their best jobs, if you remember all the way back to that first half. They played this one very split. 3 players upstairs, 2 players below, no players on the actual bomb site. The C4s from Hattie and Akek are going to be monumental to this defense. Both Uzivert in the basement is going to be the attacker that's tasked with stopping a pilot. Losing some help from the Tachanka, still plenty of canisters remaining though. So can poke out this multi at any time they want. Prepping some healing charges. They're going to try to get aggro onto this top floor. We'll see if they're able to do that. Joe can be charging forward, going to be hit by the flashbangs. The Monty will not, and they are starting to slowly gain some ground here in this top floor.
Definitely. I mean, I love the brute force with the Monty, because at the very least you have that layer of protection, quite literally physical, that you can sit behind and say, hey, all right, this is the way that we need to proceed. There's a player here, there's utility here, and it truly feeds your way to the objective, and that is exactly the bread and butter of this meta. That's exactly how you can play the Monty up, and it's usually with great success, especially from the side of usually Marquette, but I'm loving to see it from Iowa. Uzi Vert, though, is going to catch a defender off guard from behind. Great intel from the side of Iowa. Toucan finds one, though, in response. That's your trade going off on the board at 30 seconds left.
Yeah, and we always talk about the time being the 6th player, and it really is here because you have 2 C4s below, and they have a pulse. When this diffuser goes down, the planter is going to die. There are no attackers in the basement besides this IQ, and a big win there from Toucan. Not a smelly, but the diffuser goes down. The C4s don't see it, and the diffuser is planted. A giant misstep here from Marquette. They have the utility, just didn't have the way, and now they know there's a player on yellow. It's going to be Watt on this IQ. The most monumental members of this defense going to hand one, runs away before the second. Watt is still dancing around the angles. It's going to be Hattie working the way up the stairs, going to find Watt. C4 still in pocket, can force out Pilot, but now the problem is Gruel on his upstairs hatch. 10 seconds to get on, and the Monty is going aggressive. The C4 is going to find it. 1 player left above. Gruel is going to have to kill here to get the diffuser. Gets the first. 3 seconds to get on. They won't have time, and we are going to round 15 to finish things off.
Absolutely huge for Iowa. I love the Ying holding from above, knowing when to play off of that diffuser. I mean, we don't usually see that from Iowa. When Iowa gets into those post-plant situations or even has a defense situation where time is ticking, they usually fall apart. They usually aren't able to hold, and they play ego. But this time around, Iowa was able to reel it in just a little bit better to play out that time. And now a timeout from Iowa. Now that they're on their last defense round, I think this is a pretty succinct moment for them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe could have used it sooner, but it's better to use it at this point than at no point, especially when I think, I could be wrong, I think we're exactly split in defense and attack wins, or at least we're going into overtime. Both of them had 3-3 splits, and then, of course, the attackers have won both rounds. So if you're Iowa, you got to find a way to stop that. You have to win right here. Interested to see what site they'll choose to go to. They have all of them open. And if I'm them, if I'm Iowa, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too. I'm going back downstairs. I think that last round victory for Marquette, a little bit of luck definitely came into play there. Iowa's basement defense is still strong, and Marquette is going to attack this the exact same way again. If you're a Marquette fan, obviously hoping they can pull this off, but I'm so shocked they're doing the same thing 5 times.
I'm not shocked. I mean, you throw things out and you hope it sticks. And if it doesn't stick time and time again, you try something slightly different, you tweak it a little bit, especially when your strategy is pretty static. The sort of thing that you look to change is the
10
positioning,
seconds left.
the pacing, the tiny things that can really dictate, okay, this is how we're going to play in, this is
Attack this objective.
the time that we're going to do it, this is the objective, right? And I really like the ram play that they had. They just can't have it abused to their detriment from the side of Iowa. They really have to get a grip on the players from below and how to play for them. And they definitely have to have somebody the entire time in that breach. But Pilot is going to look to take a player off the board, or the side of Marquette will do that with great success. That's a kick off the board. Huge.
Yeah, and it's a big player too. The Ryora taking off. That's been the way they're watching these flanks. It's not with a ton of flank drones. It's not a Nomad or an air jab. They're just closing the doors on all of these players. So with the kick down, luckily for Marquette, it's not Ram and it's not Thermite, who I think are probably the two most important attackers here to keep on the board. Pilot, making that impact felt. Very good spawn kill from them. Second time I think they've tried it. Did it in round number 12, but fell off the angle before anybody took a look. 2 minutes left to play in Marquette, down by 1. And with Iowa winning that first map, this has to be a victory for Marquette to get us towards round 3. That pings onto the Pulse. This IQ needs to be careful because Pulse can't throw that C4 up and gonna do so. Will be off the mark though, Lil Fuzi. Cannot let the utility land. All the players are in the basement, with exception to Watt though, so Watt is going to be that one operator that they have. They've had one every time to try and find a flank onto these attackers.
With that Aurora off the board, it could be very dangerous for Iowa to find that opening in the attack of Marquette. Pilot, though, is going to be finding another kill off the board, this time around with a C4. I love this utility usage from them so far. And with Marquette, hasn't really been too much utility usage on their side, at least for their attack thus far. You see the smokes up on the board, you see the frags, but that utility economy isn't working out very well for them. Although they have very good drone economy so far. Still got 6 drones, or 7, I should say, left up on the board. So they still can utilize that to the fullest extent, and they do have time to do that with. You've got the breach open, you've got Vert working for you. All you have to do is get into position and gear up that execute to win out the round. Watt, though, is going to pick up 1, and that's going to make your deficit even huger. Toucan and Hattie, they're the last remaining players left on the board. Smoke's going to go out, but Toucan immediately dispatched up by Smelly. And Hattie, the last remaining player left on the board, all but lost so far for Marquette. And in the last dying seconds of map 2, and they've already lost map 1. This is a do-or-die situation for Hattie, and it will not be the round that they expected it to be. A huge, flawless win for Iowa to finish off the round and finish off our series 2-0.
The night of upsets continue. 6 takes down 3, 10 takes down 2, and just now, number 8 seed Iowa knocking off number 1 Marquette. Not the outcome I think any of us expected in a 2-0 nonetheless. So Iowa continues their streak. Regular season playoffs, it does not matter. They are 2-0ing opponents. If I'm facing them in the bracket, I would not want to be that team. And what some would think an early end of the season here for Marquette, obviously, feel for all those players. But if you're on Iowa, you've just won. This is no doubt the highlight of the season. They teased it as being the real grand finals. The 2 divisions number 1 seeds going against each other. You have to be on top of the world right now, right? If you're Iowa.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you won against Marquette on their map pick. That should be enough for you. But then to win 8-7, pull it back from the ashes? They went 6-6, 7-7, 8-7. I mean, just back and forth constantly. Marquette, they weren't able to close it out. They didn't have strong enough rounds for them to get a significant lead on Iowa. And I think over time, we were talking about the stamina, we were talking about the mental, it just deteriorated for them. They weren't able to adapt consistently. And this was an issue that they had on Bank too. It was that issue of, okay, we have an idea in mind. We're going to keep on trying it and keep on trying it until it works. But it doesn't work for them. In Iowa, they know how to play against it. So obviously they're going to take things to play against it, and they're going to improve on that. And by the end, that flawless round, that was the proof that Iowa needed to say, okay, we have you down, and we're not going to let up on the gas here.
An impressive end for Iowa. Speaking of end, we're going to throw it to a short break real quick. We should be back very soon, though, with an interview from one of the Iowa team members. So be sure to stick around. We'll get their thoughts coming out of this impressive playoff victory right on the other side of this break.
Woke up feeling mad today. Bitch, I'm ugly, but I act like Timmy Chalamet. These motherfuckers so much. Why I keep on trying to get them all to validate me? It's no hell, I'm living like, oh well. Like my English teacher said that I show them I don't tell. I show them I don't fail, they know me so well. I've been catching all the shit, even throwing them Odell. Turn the cameras on. Quick water break in a marathon. Walk in your room when I set the mood. They ain't gotta light the motherfucking candles on. Can't see without the cameras on. Without a platform to be standing on. All this baggage going over their heads, so I keep it underneath how I carry on. I'm going crazy. Too hard for my law, had to add the AC. Guess what's getting to him lately? They've been taking shots at the boy and the shake cheese. I smell the green, the Tennessee's are going up. I'm already too old for Crystal. They trying to run them out, checking in on that big wheel. It's not wild, disappear, okay. These sparks are fickle and simple-minded. Flashlight in the dark, how people gon' get behind them. I never kill my ego, was tripping. I said it's happening. That shit'll kill me. If they hear it, then never mind if I been gassed up. That's why they don't hold a candle to me. Masked up way before it was a standard duty. Back up, I came in the shit, put my sticks in the ground. So I'm sorry, but you're killing me. Turn the cameras on. Quick water break in a marathon. Walk in your room when I set the mood. They ain't gotta light the motherfucking candles on. Can't see without the cameras on. Without a platform to be standing on. All this baggage going over their heads, so I keep it underneath how I carry on.
Where is he?
They put the red out right back on his head. In fact, it never left. Fucking go play, I won't understand. It won't matter no less. All my nights sleep is but my dreams still vivid. Hole getting deeper, but the team still winning. Let me look around like, will you please love me? End up in the ground where they still think of me, but it still feels something. Ain't nobody laughing, but it still feels funny to me. It's all a game, all these people just a number to me. And what can it be? No matter how I feel, you can bet I'll give them something to see.
I don't want you to know them upcoming new artists. Money match up. Money match up. Them stink like my money. By the way, I don't want you no nice. All what you doing for.
They done the big.
Welcome back to Midwest R6. Once again, Kingfisher joined here by Jenna, and of course, Pilot from Iowa, winning team. So before we get into anything at all, gotta know, number 8 seed upsetting the number 1. How good does it feel right now to be the winner of this match?
It feels amazing, especially just a few weeks ago, we had faced Marquette again in NECC, and that one went all the way, 44 rounds out of 45. So that was neck and neck. We knew after that we had it. We made a lot of mistakes that game, and we addressed them for tonight. And you see where that took us.
Absolutely was an impressive victory. And talk about, speaking of like addressing mistakes, we saw through both these two maps. You guys got down pretty big early, 4-0 on Bank, and then of course 3-0 on Consulate. How do you come back from that? Is that mental? Are you switching things up in game? What are you guys doing to kind of put yourselves back in the driver's seat of these matches?
It's like 100% mental. You got to keep it clear. I mean, going down 4-0, especially on a defense start like Bank, that hits hard. So we prepped as a team, just kind of all collectively getting into that state of mind, and then just assuring each other all the way through each of those rounds that, like, we still got this, still the opportunity to come back, not to lose that mental. And keeping the mental up, we then addressed what they did, what we needed to pick. Like on Bank, they were using a ton of shields. So then swapped out to the Clash, countered the shields, it worked. And then leverage it right back at them. And I mean, that worked. So really, it was just keeping good mental, staying positive, being there for one another, and then just listening, adapting.
It's definitely some impressive stuff. I'll pass it along to Jenna for a couple more questions before I take you back here.
Yeah, and I mean, going back on Bank, I mean, first of all, that Clash play, great decision making on that. I have to give that to you guys, because, like, I feel like a lot of teams, especially T3, T4, they don't really adapt a lot. They don't really have that foresight to be like, okay, this team is doing this, we got to do this now, so
Yeah.
Great on that. But you took Marquette on their map pick on Bank. Now, number one, have you played Marquette before on Bank?
Yeah, so actually this entire series, all 3 maps, going Bank, Consulate, Club, that was the exact same map pick that we faced them in our NECC matchup. So we knew immediately off of that going the same maps, we had already had addressed what we did wrong that first map to lose it back on when we faced them in NECC. So then we knew going into this what to expect, and they did exactly what we expected. So after we then were able to kind of adjust around that with some of the picks, because we didn't actually like sit down and really strat around it. We didn't do any practices around it. We came into this just swinging, and we adapted, and it worked.
Yeah, I think like those adaptations off the cuff are what really like carried you guys all the way, and I think that's what made the difference between being a team that lost and being a team that won. You didn't really see that too much from Marquette. I mean, for 5 rounds on that garage side on the second map on Consulate, they did the same exact thing. Do you guys notice that?
Yep. Even that last round, so going through it, they swapped to IQ after I went Valk, and they were trying to get those cams. They got the cams, but we were still picking them off with C4s. Then after that last overtime round, Fuzi called and was like, hey, go that IQ, go the Valk again. Because originally I was thinking, I'll go mute, kind of swap it up. But I had leveraged the Valk, and it paid off. It's just wasting time, getting a little bit of intel, and it works.
Yeah, and I mean, keeping that positive mental, it had to have been absolutely the game changer for you guys. And I just have to wonder, like, when you guys are down early, like, what really goes on in your comms? Are you guys like, okay, we need to adapt to them, or more so, we need to change up like what we are doing? We need to take a different strategy. Were you more so playing off of their play, or did you focus on your play?
It was kind of an even split, but the one thing though that we kind of focused more on us was that Marquette really didn't swap it up at all. They were very predictable. So it just came down to we were just doing stupid plays. We were doing things that we shouldn't have been doing. So we fixed that, we addressed that, swapped that around, and then it worked. We ended up getting those rounds back. So it was just kind of seeing what they would do, what they were willing to throw at us, and then growing from there. I think like with the mental going between those rounds, like losing one and then having to recover from that, kind of stems. We typically have Fuzi screaming and hollering at us. Maybe some cursing in there, but kind of then just recollecting and all being so fired up because like we know we can win that. We know we should have won it, so we're gonna adapt and then hit it back.
Absolutely, my friend. I mean, great game. You really had the stamina on that. Going what? I think 30 something rounds, I imagine. I mean, that was between 2 maps, maybe 20 high 20s, early,
27,
something like that.
yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, congrats on that win. It really was like a whole mental fortitude thing. We were talking about this earlier. Like, you really just have to like stay focused and stay in the game and not let your strategy and your kind of coordination deteriorate over time, which is definitely not what you guys did. You really kept it in the game. So great on you guys. And I'll hand it over if you want to make some lasting comments.
Yeah, just Pilot. Anything from you? Any final words of wisdom, shout outs, predictions, anything you got before we send it out here?
Well, I guess I first want to open up. Love my team. I'm happy that we've come this far, and I can guarantee everyone else, you're not done seeing us. We're gonna keep on coming back. We're gonna try and get all the way as far as we can. We want that trophy, until we get that win. We need it. Obviously, shout out to all of my friends and family that tuned in to watch it. Love them all. The support is always appreciated. I mean, I have friends even with Iowa State repping Iowa, tuning in. Gotta love that. Even like close friends, girlfriend watching, love it. I think just the community that we've started building here at Iowa to support the Siege team has been absolutely amazing. And like all the support from friends, family, relatives, just everyone that we've met has been incredible. And even to you guys, want to give you all props. It's been a long night for all of you. So love you all.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you to all of you for watching. These have been the quarterfinals for Midwest R6. Make sure you come back next Thursday. Semifinals right around the corner between all three of our tournaments. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you back here next week on Midwest R6.